talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van range, supporting van owners to get the job done. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van centre.
With your headlines at 1 minute past 10, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. As Everton struggle to recreate that Goodison feeling at Hill Dickinson, David Moyes admits it's better for Everton's away fans right now.
We need to get back to winning ways here, but we started here very well. We're just finding it a little bit more difficult, but it's also been partly in the month or so we've had so many injuries and boys out at different times. It's not made it easy for us.
Everton are just a point off the European places. Leeds boss Daniel Farke's happy with the draw as he aims to do better than Bielsa.
Marcelo, 1 good year, but then also 2 years of suffering, and at the moment we are not allowed to label us as an established Premier League side. Just 3 seasons in the last 25 years, but we want to make sure that we establish us again.
Leeds now 6 points clear of the bottom 3. In the Championship, Frank Lampard's told us why Coventry lost another one on the road.
Defensive errors from us. Games like this, a lot of football games are won in both boxes. We created enough to probably score more goals, but we didn't. Then you have to try and keep a clean sheet, and we didn't.
Norwich resurgent under Philippe Clement came back to beat the league leaders 2-1. Now we're hearing Andy Robertson could still go to Spurs this month, but that all hinges on Roma finding a replacement left-back. Meanwhile, Aston Villa have stepped up their efforts to get Douglas Luiz back from Forest. There's more on all this at talksport.com. And let's check in on England's deciding ODI in Sri Lanka. The boys are batting first. How are we looking, Sam Ellard?
Steady start, 16 overs gone, England 65 for 2. The 2 wickets to fall, both the openers. Ben Duckett for 7, reverse sweeping Dan Njaya to point. Then Rayan Ahmed got to 24 and picked out short mid-wicket off the bowling of Hasarangi. Bajoru, who's been in good touch this series, runs in the first 2 matches, is already 22 from 24. Bethel unbeaten on 11. Slow wicket, like the first 2 matches, spin from both ends. Live commentary on talkSPORT 2. England 65 for 2 from 16.
Thank you, Sam. There's also ball-by-ball live commentary on our cricket YouTube channel as well.
talkSPORT News.
We're told millions of leaseholders will benefit from ground rents being capped at 250 quid a year, and storm warnings for the southwest and Northern Ireland. More from the news team in half an hour.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Whatever the weather, our range of services is longer than the queue at the Chippy on a Friday night. Tyres, MOTs, brakes and more. Book today at quickfit.com.
Those warnings because Storm Chandra is bringing heavy rain and strong winds right across the country. In the southwest, turning brighter with blustery showers, very windy right across the west and feeling cold.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Jim White and Simon Jordan, and we are live on talkSPORT. So Everton and Leeds share a point apiece. After regular relegation battles, should Everton fans be embracing a time of stability? Meanwhile, Jean-Philippe Mateta to Nottingham Forest? If it happens, whose ambition do you call into question more here, Mateta or Crystal Palace? Also today, burns and hearing loss, an occupational hazard for working at a football match. What's with the Dubois U-turn? Should sports stars embrace the TikTok generation and paranoia or intimidation? What are Premier League referees encountering? It's Jim White, Simon Jordan. We're live in talkSPORT.
100% engagement. Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
Well, it was a bit different yesterday, wasn't it? We had Emmanuel Petit in here, and he was in great form, wasn't he?
Yeah, very Arsenal-centric, though.
So Arsenal-centric.
One step sideways from Keane, wasn't it, a little bit?
Well, it was a little bit, so much so that you were quite quiet, a good friend of mine was saying in the first half hour yesterday. And that's not often I can say that.
Was I? I don't know. Emmanuel was on his soapbox telling people, and the reasons why people were having a go at him wasn't because he left to go to Barcelona to go to Chelsea. It's because he was wagging their finger at them. Yeah. So when that fan phoned in, it wasn't because he wanted to really have a pop at Emmanuel, call him a rat for leaving to go to Barcelona. It's because Emmanuel was telling football fans that they should react. To some extent, he's right to say that football fans should support, but by the same token, football fans also pay their money. The players get paid enormous amounts of money to put on a service or a function or a performance, which shall we say. Yeah. If the fans don't like it, they have their right to express their views.
Sure. Boxers have a right to do what they want, it seems, if it's going to work for them. And that's exactly what heavyweight Daniel Dubois has done. They seem to have had a fallout, him and his trainer, Don Charles. After a period of time apart, they're now back together. All is well, a bit of a U-turn in terms of Daniel going back to Don Charles. We will hear from Daniel Dubois later on in the show this morning as to how this has come about. But it can only be good news because together they worked well, Simon.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I had Don on Talk Boxing a couple of weeks ago and gave him a platform to air his views, and he was very diplomatic, but he also said he was unhappy about the manner in which he departed and felt that their career, their journey, and the currency that he'd brought into Daniel's life, which was to take him from a situation where he was in decline to some extent, to build him right up physically and mentally to a world title. Yeah. And then at the first sign of adversity, he was jettisoned. Yeah. And whilst he was unhappy about it, I think he was diplomatic. And I think whether it's a case of they've U-turned back to Don Charles because the formula was working and they shouldn't really change something that wasn't broken despite the defeat to Usyk, or whether there wasn't a synergy between him and Tony Sims. I think it's probably a combination of all of those things.
Okay. I'll be interested to hear what you think of Daniel and the prospect maybe of Daniel going in against Fabio Wardley. Later on this morning, we're going to hear from this 16-year-old lad, a Portsmouth ball boy, who was left unable to hear in one ear after a pyrotechnic thrown from the stands exploded near him during Sunday's South Coast Derby against Southampton at Fratton Park. His name is Hayden Rogers. He's a good lad. He's at home today, and I've had a chat with him. I mean, what goes on at matches, Simon, these days, and the dangers that can come about with when fans take in pyrotechnics, honestly, it doesn't end well. Anyway, you will be hearing from the young lad later on this morning. No fireworks, I'm pleased to say, at the Hill Dickinson Stadium last night. Everton and Leeds drew 1-1. No fireworks really on the pitch either. Not much to write home about in this one. A point apiece, as I say. But after the chaotic years, Simon, of Farhad Mashiri and regular relegation battles, I wonder if Everton fans should be embracing a time of stability. Is that the best way forward?
Well, I mean, fans, again, like I've said, are entitled. We've got this scenario where, Everton have finished 16th, 17th and 13th, 15th and whatever else, and they're now sitting 10th in the league. If they continue to track the way they're tracking, they'll finish 9th based upon the points total of last year. And some would say that's a far departure from where they were a couple of years ago, staring down the brink of relegation. In fact, at certain times, people's favourite for being relegated, circling the drain and not going down it. The flip side of it is that football fans are now conditioned to wanting a style of football, and also the mentality of whatever they haven't got is what they want next. They've got a new stadium. They want a new dawn. They want exciting football. They forget very quickly the feeling of desperation when they were circling the drain, thinking that we'll do anything. Doesn't matter. Just show us a team that puts up some resilience, makes us proud, and we'll be pleased to support them. And that quickly changes, because it's the nature of the beast, and why shouldn't it? It quickly changes to, okay, we've seen that, we've forgotten that, now we want to see something better.
Right.
And to be honest with you, if you don't have that energy and that emotion driven by fans, then what is the sum total of a football club? You need to have ambition, you need to have aspiration. It does need to be balanced with a degree of realism against what you've got, against the opposition that you're playing against. Leeds are not mugs. Leeds are a very good side at this moment in time, so it's always been a difficult game. And in fact, Leeds were the better side, certainly for the first half of the game.
Yeah, I think so.
In all intents and purposes, if you're sitting 10th in the league and building a solid base to leap off in the first season of a new stadium, which was billed in the fans' minds as their oasis. Yeah, this is it. Everything led towards this stadium, and from this stadium, or the green shoots, and they don't want it tomorrow. They want it now.
Sure.
A section of the fan base, and then you'll talk to a more rational section of the fan base that will go, look, we are where we are. We're 10th. We're building. Does David Moyes produce exciting teams? Did David have this in his first tenure? Did people think that after 8-9 years or however long he was at Everton. I think it was about that amount of time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And his successes that he had, which was putting them at the top end of the Premier League and getting them into Europe, was something they enjoyed, or did they think again it was pedestrian football?
Right. Well, Everton have won once at home since November. The record at the new stadium that we've been talking about there, standing at lost 4, won 4, drawn 4. And as Simon says, they remain 10th this morning, 5 points off Manchester United in 4th. This was David Moyes.
Well, I said last week, if you're an Everton supporter, you'd be better being an away supporter at the moment, because our form's very good away from home. We need to get back to winning ways here, but we started here very well. We're just finding it a little bit more difficult, but it's also been partly in the month or so we've had so many injuries and boys out at different times. It's not made it easy for us. We don't have the biggest squad, but we've been trying to find ways of getting results, and we've sort of drawn here with Wolves. We've had a couple of draws here recently, so we had to take a draw tonight. Leeds are on a good side, who are on a pretty good run, so a point isn't the worst result.
So Farhad Moshiri has gone, Simon. 1 year of the Friedkins and Moyes. How do you assess the new era thus far?
Well, it's not fraught with jeopardy, is it? It's not fraught with existential concerns. I mean, it wasn't so long ago that this football club was in dire trouble. People weren't... You had the 7 group, or the 777 group, wasn't it? That were
that's
potentially going to buy it, and all that came with them.
Oh, who was he? Josh Wanda, remember that? Yeah, I remember.
And you had...
I spoke to him.
You had my friend George Downing having to plug a hole to make sure that the stadium was being built in line with its original contract. Otherwise, that would have gone up by hundreds of millions of pounds.
Yeah.
You had all the concerns on the field. You had various managers coming and going. Frank Lampard, in my view, taking them to the brink, and Sean Dyche saving them from that brink. And then David Moyes coming up and picking up the slack when Sean lost his lustre. And so now what you've got is you've got a team that's gone into a new stadium. It doesn't have oodles of money in terms of its owner does, but the ability to be able to compete with its governance and the PSR requirements to meet its expectations of its challenges are still there. So David doesn't have a blank checkbook. You're sitting 10th in the league. Now, I'm not one to suggest to Everton fans they should put up and shut up and get on with it and be grateful for what they've got. But there is an element of put up, shut up, be grateful for what you got. Because it wasn't so long ago that you had a lot less to be grateful for.
Yes. I'm going to put it out there this morning, actually, because I love it when Evertonians come on, Liverpool fans as well, but in this case, Evertonians. And I'll put it to you this way. Would European qualification represent a fairly remarkable return? Or is that where a club like Everton really should be, in your view? Is that where a club like Everton should be landing in European qualification spot? You want to give me a call, please do. What's your take on where Everton are under Moyes in this second time around? 03717 223344 810 89. We're live in talkSPORT this Tuesday morning. A lot to get through, and we're with you courtesy of Selco, where the trade goes. Tuesday morning, everybody. Tuesday morning, January the 27th, just about through the month, are we not? A bit wet and windy here in this part of the world, down here in London. Hope it's better wherever you're listening, all around the UK and beyond. It's a while since I've said that, but I enjoy saying it. A lot to get through this Tuesday morning. Where are we at, Evertonians? 1 year of the Friedkins and Moyes. Would European qualification represent a fairly remarkable return, or is that where a club like Everton should be landing? Everton won, Leeds won last night. Where are they? They're 10th, 5 points off Manchester United in 4th. Is that where you should be? Is that where you hope you'd be? Should you be doing better? 03717 223344. Tom, good morning. Evertonian, what do you want to say?
Hi Jim, hi Simon, you okay?
Good, thank you, Tom. What do you want to tell us?
Basically, I just want to say about where we've come from over the last 12 months to where we were when Moyes took over.
Yes.
You know, we've moved on from a position of relegation over the last 4 or 5 seasons and going into games. You know, I felt going into games under previous managers, it was instantly a thought that you were going to lose. You know, under Moyes, he's made us competitive again. He's made us feel like we can go into a game against anyone and get something out the game. Now, that's within 12 months. Give the guy another 12 months, and where will we be after that? You know, we're on the way forward. We're on the way back up under Moyes.
Right. And do you think Europe is a realistic ambition for a club like Everton at this particular time?
Well, if you'd have said to me at the start of the season that we'd have any aspirations for Europe this season, I'd have snatched your hand off. You know.
Exactly.
100%.
Tom, thanks for the call. Much obliged to you. Michael's a big Evertonian and he joins us live. What do you think, Michael? 1 year of the Friedkins and David. European qualification, would that be a fairly remarkable return for you?
Listen, I agree with what the previous lad just said, but if you'd have asked most Evertonians in the start of this calendar year, 17th and an FA Cup win, we'd have taken the FA Cup win. But where we are now, 1 point off Europe. The squad's okay. Moyes has done a brilliant job with the money he's had, and why not push for Europe?
Yes, yeah, I think so. I think there's a feel-good factor about the place at the moment, Simon. By the sounds of it, without setting the place on fire, that they are going in the direction they want to be going in.
Well, yeah, based upon where they've been. Now,
Yeah.
Of course, Everton is a big football club. You know, has been a big football club historically for a long time. And if you look at the intellectual capital behind the Premier League, Everton were at the top table. They were one of the 5 or 6 clubs, the 5 clubs at the time, that were the orchestrators and instigators of the Premier League. So when you look at Everton's journey, where they are now, they'll be pleased with where they are compared with where they've been for the last 5 years. But given the fact they built this marvellous stadium, and given the fact that a stadium isn't just there to house other activities, it's there to produce a winning football team, Everton fans will, and rightfully so, start to demand that there's a upward movement from you know, circling the relegation area to moving into the mid-table security and stability, to challenging the upper echelons. And this is the step that David's going to have to take. And he didn't take it at West Ham. And then a style of football became the overriding issue, and people started to lose their focus on what David had actually achieved at West Ham and started to look at what he hasn't achieved. And the same focus will come on David in Everton. They'll be grateful and respectful of the achievement. They'll be mindful of the fact that they were once, in the last 4 or 5 years, really in jeopardy.
Yeah.
And then in about a year's time, it'll be, what have you done for me lately? And there's nothing wrong with that. That's the reality of the business you're in. That's why you're paid big bucks to be football managers and huge rewards at the end of it if you do well.
Everton fan Matthew joins us. Matthew, good morning. After the chaotic years of Mashiri and regular relegation battles, should you guys be embracing a time of stability right now? What do you think, Matthew? Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Compared to where we've been for the last 4 or 5 years, you know, in the doldrums, fighting relegation, I'm quite happy where we are. Europe is not far away. Moyes has done an excellent job. I know some fans didn't want him, but look, he's done brilliant. Look what he did at West Ham. You know, West Ham was silly to get rid of him. We've got him, and upwards and onwards.
Upwards and onwards. I like that. Matthew, thank you very much indeed. Simon, from Spurs in 14th to Wolves in 20th, what about Leeds? Do they now bring the most assuredness in this relegation battle, do you think?
I think Leeds have the ability to sail away from this relegation battle or this dogfight of being sucked into the vortex of challenging themselves to stay in the division. I think they're much more together. There's a sea change in the way that they've played. They've set up differently. Dominic Calvert-Lewin has come to the party and started to score goals, which we know he's capable of, but he's now scoring goals more regularly and providing a threat as much as he is scoring goals. And the team, I mean, I watched them. I mean, Palace were poor over Christmas, but Leeds destroyed Palace.
Yeah,
there was more energy, and and going to Ellen Road looks like it's the fortress and the environment of not so much hostility but passion and determination and vociferous fans, and it has been for many, many years, but now it's becoming a team that's matching the expectations of its fans. Now I expected Leeds to stay in the Premier League. I didn't expect Leeds to struggle, and all this background noise about Farke was unfair, I felt. Now, he's got the team together. They're not winning enough games. They're drawing too many games, but they are competitive against whoever they play. Whichever team they're up against, they make them have to beat Leeds, and teams are finding it very difficult to do so. Yeah. And you've got to give a lot of credit to Daniel Farke for that.
Well, they're not losing, Simon. Well, no side has lost fewer league games since the start of December than Leeds.
That's my point. They're not... One. Ideally, they'd like to win a few more games than the repeated draws that they seem to be getting. But I think that it'll be fascinating to see how Arsenal go against Leeds on the weekend, because Arsenal need to get a result. Leeds are nobody's fools. They'll make it difficult for them. And it's interesting to see how Arsenal cope with the resilience and the robustness of this Leeds side, because in this modern day football, they don't compare to Norman Hunter and people that played in that time, and Johnny Giles and the physicality of Billy Bremner and that brand of football. But in this version of football, Leeds are as robust a team as you're likely to see in the Premier League in terms of their physicality and determination to get outcomes.
Yeah,
a bit more talent and a bit more finesse inside their side, getting that balance right between finesse and fortitude, and Leeds could be quite a force in the Premier League.
They could well be. I wonder if Coventry, should they get to the Premier League, will they be much of a force? And I want to touch on the Championship before we hit 10:30 this morning, Simon. Norwich came from behind. They beat Frank's Coventry to continue their revival, the Norwich revival at least, under Philippe Clement. We remember him, do we not, at Rangers. So, I mean, from the Arsenal wobble to the Coventry wobble, after such an emphatic first half of the season, was it almost inevitable? This was Frank Lampard post-match.
You defend sloppy and make mistakes, then teams can score against you and you lose games. We created enough chances to score more goals, we didn't, but the defensive errors are a problem. Something we've been very good at generally through the season, but as I say again, if you do that, you can lose games against anyone in this league. I think some games are not easy to control in the Championship. They can be like that. I think we probably had a bit more possession than them. As I say, created enough chances to score more. But games are always won in both boxes, whether control or not, and it's not easy to come here on a Monday night with a team that are in pretty good form and try and control every aspect of the game. But you have to be clinical at both ends.
I like Frank, Simon. I said to him the other day, come on and have a chat with me and Simon. He says to me, I will do, not just yet, I will do. I'm focusing on the football at the moment because there's a lot to focus on. You've been saying that
for 4 years, hasn't he?
You've been saying that for 4 years. Good morning, Frank. But a month ago, and this is the point, Coventry had an 8-point lead at the top of the Championship. That now sits at 3.
Yeah.
Ahead of Middlesbrough.
They've had a mixed bag of results.
But Ipswich and Hull in 3rd and 4th, 8 points adrift with a game in hand. But there could be a charge at the back of Coventry that he's got to be mindful of.
It may be. I mean, they're just going to beat Millwall, who are 5th in the league. So they're beating teams around, and they beat Leicester the week before that. They lost in the FA Cup, they lost to Birmingham. So they've got a mixed bag of results. They lost to Ipswich, a team to watch out for Ipswich, but they're 8 points behind. Ipswich lost on the weekend. Ipswich lost on the weekend that people didn't expect them to lose. Middlesbrough are playing in-form Norwich on the weekend. So it's not a gimme. I mean, the Championship is a slog. And if you're at 58 points after 29 games, you're in good nick. If you're 8 points clear, Coventry don't care really if they win the league. They care if they get promoted. So all they're going to be worried about is the automatic playoff spots. And they're 8 points clear of Ipswich.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, I'd take that all day. And I think Frank will grip the nettle and get them to move forward. I don't know who they're playing next. Who are they playing next on the weekend? They're playing QPR away. Difficult game. But I think it's still Coventry that will get promoted. And it'll be interesting to see. My tip was always Ipswich. My tip was always Kieran McKenna, Mark Ashton, that side, because I thought they would recover their poise. There they are knocking on the door, third in the league.
Yeah.
Middlesbrough are probably punching harder than people expected them to, and fair play to them. They've had to deal with the adversity of losing a manager in the course of the season.
Was that fair in Ipswich fans, you tipping Ipswich? You are the kiss of death, aren't you?
Not always. I mean,
a lot of the time.
I wouldn't follow me behind too many bets, but they're not bad, are they? They're third in the league, so they're going to get themselves into some sort of promotion position.
Yeah.
And obviously they would expect to do so. They just got relegated from the Premier League.
All right. Now listen, if the terms are right, should you really sell to anyone? Jean-Philippe Mateta to Nottingham Forest? Really? 10:30.
David Moyes admits it's better at Everton's away games right now.
We need to get back to winning ways here, but we started here very well. We're just finding it a little bit more difficult, but it's also been partly in the month or so we've had so many injuries and boys out at different times has not made it easy for us.
Boos rang out at Hill Dickinson 1-0 down to Leeds at half-time before a Tieno Barry goal rescued a point. Everton's record at the new stadium is 1-4, drawn 4, lost 4. They're up to 10th. Meanwhile, Daniel Farke's aiming to better Bielsa and make Leeds a bona fide Premier League team.
Marcelo, one good year, but then also 2 years of suffering. And at the moment, we are not allowed to label us as an established Premier League side. Just 3 seasons in the last 25 years. But we want to make sure that we establish us again.
Leeds are 6 points clear of the bottom 3. West Ham are in talks with Spurs over a loan move for their goalkeeper, Antonin Kinski. The Hammers are willing to include a buy option for the keeper. All the latest on that at talkSPORT.com. Frank Lampard's blaming defensive errors and poor finishing as Coventry's Championship lead is cut to 3 points. Norwich came back to win at Carrow Road last night.
Actually, it didn't really look like Coventry were going to get the equaliser in the end, which I think says everything about how comfortable Norwich felt.
talkSPORT's Dean Ashton there. He says that former Rangers boss Philippe Clement has turned Norwich around. They move 4 points clear of the bottom 3. Get more, talkSPORT.com.
Real Deal on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. For the latest special offers, pick up this month's Real Deals in branch or view online at selcobw.com.
Tuesday morning, just gone 10:30. Jim White and Simon Jordan live in talkSPORT. Let's pick out who's been the real deal this week. With Selco Builders Warehouse, one wonders if Jean-Philippe Mateta to Nottingham Forest would constitute a real deal of some sort or another. Yeah, you heard right. At one stage, it looked like Mateta of Crystal Palace was going to be heading to Turin, to Juventus. But now, Nottingham Forest have made a £35 million offer to sign Mateta from Crystal Palace. Personal terms between Forest and the 28-year-old are understood not to be an issue. Now, Oliver Glasner has spoken about his striker, and he is his striker, Jean-Philippe Mateta. He's spoken Friday about him. This was him on that very topic.
Very clear, so he didn't hand in a transfer request, and we have no bid received right now.
Okay. Has he spoken to you about wanting to move away from Crystal Palace?
I speak with many players and about different topics, but I think it's what they deserve is that I don't tell it publicly. I think every player, there is a price where a club say, okay, evaluating the whole situation, yeah, age, contract, duration, and a price where a club would say, okay, we agree to a deal. But again, there's no bid came in, and he didn't hand in a transfer request.
So what's going on here, Simon? He was booed at the weekend. Palace in 15th, Nottingham Forest in 17th. £35 million offer on the table from Forest at Palace. Should they really sell to anyone, including Forest, if it comes about?
I think Palace, if they're going to get sucked into a relegation battle, should be more worried about selling to West Ham or Burnley than necessarily Forest. But I understand the optics of it don't look good. The player wanting to go to Nottingham Forest, what does that tell you? It tells you that perhaps Nottingham Forest's ambition, Nottingham Forest's ambition is clearly greater than Crystal Palace's because they've stated it. I mean, you haven't heard a statement from Crystal Palace saying they're going to dominate English football and win all the trophies and do whatever Maranaka said last time he was singing the song about what Forest are going to do. They don't spend the money that Forest do. They don't. Matter of fact, they've got the ability to do it. They don't.
There's a bit of needle between the two of them. I mean, the two clubs have got this recent history.
It was not. This
Forest took Palace's place in the Europa League.
But that's confected needle. It's not Nottingham Forest's fault that Crystal Palace dropped a B. And ultimately made a mistake and created the problems for themselves. Nottingham Forest, they were rabble-rousers. They put their two penneth in, but Palace would have done the same thing. If Palace saw an opportunity, I suspect, all this camaraderie and kinship would have gone straight out the window because everyone's competing against one another. So Palace would have jumped on Nottingham Forest's grave in the same way the Forest jumped on Palace's grave.
When you were at the top, did you ever care who you sold to? Did your boundaries? No, I can't sell to him.
Oh, really? Everyone's
history.
You can't make the scene if you haven't got the green, right? Everyone's money's the same colour. So, within due respect, I wouldn't have. If I was trying to get promoted and someone was sitting next door to me, I was first and they were second, or I was third and they were fourth, and I was going to sell a player to them, I don't think I would have done that. I mean, remember that being done by Ipswich years ago, or more to the point, Huddersfield years ago with Marcus Stewart. Of course, Steve Brewster had an absolute rabid reaction to his owner at Huddersfield when they were sitting in the top six. So the optics of it aren't very good. But you don't run your businesses, to some extent, by optics.
Well, let me put it this way. If Mateta to Forest is sanctioned, and it could well be, and Alex Cook will join us later on this morning.
What do you do next?
Whose ambition do you call into question more, though? Mateta's or Palace's?
I don't care about Mateta's ambition. He's irrelevant. He wants to leave. So his ambition is not my responsibility. His ambition is not my concern. My concern as a Crystal Palace fan, and in the instance of Parish and his board as Crystal Palace owners, is what do I do with this player who wants to leave? I don't know the conversations that have been had between Mateta. He's cited the fact that they've told him things that they're not doing. I mean, I know quite why they'd need to tell Mateta what they're doing with the transfer policies. I know they would have signed a new contract and perhaps told him that we have ambition. Well, players then deliberately misinterpret that and use it as an opportunity to weaponise the conversation when they want to do something that they shouldn't be doing, which is actually saying, I've had a turn, I want to leave. Now, he's entitled to leave if he wants to. How he leaves is under Crystal Palace's jurisdiction to some extent. And if they feel that a player that doesn't want to be there can be cashed in on, got a decent price, and they've got a ready-made lineup in that donkey at Wolves, then up to them. Up to them.
You don't stop on him. We'll get to him.
No, because I think he's useless. I think this idea that we lionise these players and pay 40, 50 million people for can't even trap a bleeding ball, it evades me. But listen, beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
He's not asking, Strand Larsen, right? He's not asking for people to bid 40, 50 million.
No, I know, he's not worth it either.
But does this not show how...
He should be out for Trade Descriptions Act.
Does this not show how quickly things have unravelled at Selhurst Park?
It's a difficult moment.
That Mateta might consider Nottingham Forest a step up on Crystal Palace.
Well, in ambition terms, in the size and scale of the football clubs, in the achievements of the football clubs, despite the fact Nottingham Forest are languishing outside of the Premier League for 23 years, let's have it right, they are. Their owner's more ambitious. Of course he's more ambitious. He wants to spend as much money as he possibly can. He hasn't made any bones about what he thinks the opportunity should exist for Nottingham Forest. He's backed it with cash. And the one thing you can't say about Marinakis, besides he's got unpalatable habits at times, is that he isn't ambitious and he doesn't mean what he says. Now cross-reference that with Palace. Cross-reference that with a board that Parish ain't got 2 and 6 to rub together, but the other guys have. The other guys, Blitzer and Harris, have got plenty of money. And there's plenty of room inside.
Why are they not doing something
Well,
then?
they might...
How can you win the FA Cup and thereafter sell Eze, Gehi and now Mateta?
No, but hold on.
That's true.
You didn't sell Eze and Gehi. You got them taken off you by bigger football clubs, and there's nothing you can do about it. Eze would have driven himself around the corner to Arsenal. He wanted to go to Arsenal. He was going to Arsenal one way or by hook or by crook. Gehi made his position clear. Palace, as a matter of absolute copper-bottom fact, turned down 60 million quid for Gehi from Newcastle in August 2024. So the player then from that point on was never going to sign a new contract. There's nothing you can do about that because you understand where you are as a club. What's your priority? Going after the extra 2 or 3 places up the league, costing yourself 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 million quid to achieve it and maybe get another 10 million quid back. I'm not saying you don't know. I'm not saying know your place. I'm saying the reality of it is that there's a risk-reward ratio. Football doesn't base itself upon that. It only bases itself upon the emotion of it. But if there's a consequence and you get the risk-reward wrong, like Everton, where are you then? You're in jeopardy. You're circling around the drain, as I described earlier on, of Everton, looking down at the Championship. And does everyone pat you on the back for having some balls then? Did anyone pat Mashiri on the back for spending 500 million quid on players that was badly spent? Anyone pat him on the back for that? No, they couldn't get him out the bleeding door fast enough and thought he was an imbecile. So there's got to be some balance between what's being done at Crystal Palace against what it looks like right now. The same board put Glasner in place. The same board supported Glasner that gave him a team that was capable of competing in the Premier League and winning the FA Cup. He didn't do it in isolation. He did it in conjunction. And of course he did it brilliantly. And of course he should get all the plaudits because the first team manager always will do. But then they don't operate in a vacuum. They operate in a space where they're provided with the tools. And what they do with those tools is successful or unsuccessful. Now he's going and they have to answer to that. But he was always going to go. He was always going to go.
Yeah, but not to Nottingham Forest.
No, not the player, the manager. Yeah, but the player, that's up to the bleeding player. If no one wants to pay 35 or 40 million quid
He's got a contract till 2027.
Then keep him and stay.
If you were still at Crystal Palace this morning and there's a £35 million bid in the table from
Depends
Forest,
what I'm lining up as replacement.
Would you sell him?
Depends what I'm lining up as replacement. If I've got my business done in my mind's eye and I know what I'm buying and it's a done deal somewhere else and this little twerp that doesn't want to play for me anymore can go somewhere else and I can cash in on him and I can provide myself with a replacement. I mean, I'm not a fan of Mateta's. I think he's a streaky player that did okay. I think he hit a wicked vein of form last year and looked really good. But prior to that, with due respect to Delhi, he looked like a rich man's Delhi Adebola. He didn't look like a physical athlete. He's got himself in a French team. I'm not surprised that Wilfried Zaha was laughing at him 18 months ago when he couldn't even get in Palace's first team and having dreams of playing in the French team. So with all that in mind, if Mateta wants to leave, and I've got myself lined up,
right.
If Palace haven't got themselves lined up, like the centre-back situation...
They've explored a move for Jørgen Strand Larsen.
Yeah, I mean, listen, my views on that are clear, but I'm not a scout. And my views, I went and watched Gerard Bowen play for Hull 4 or 5 years ago, and I thought he was not particularly good. So that shuts me right up, doesn't it? At the end of the day, I've watched Strand Larsen. I think he's a donkey. If Palace think he's something different, and they've got the replacement, some would say 18 months ago that Mateta is one. You know, and he's hit a vein of form under Oliver Glasner. Everybody in the end gets what they deserve. You can look at the karma that goes around football and work out where it lands. The fact is, he wants to leave. He's entitled to leave. Palace can bank a load of cash on him, buy a new player that wants to come to Crystal Palace and move on. The manager's going to go. They'll replace him with another manager that will hopefully keep Palace afloat in the Premier League, and order will be returned.
So it doesn't matter if it strengthens their near rivals in the near future, and that's what it might do. if they sell him to Forest, and they are near rivals right now.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
Of that there is no doubt.
But the same.
It's not ideal. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Palace are 15th, Forest is 17th.
Sure, but I've just
have Mateta.
But I've just made my points.
He bangs them in.
I've just made my points that ultimately I think Palace's main concern, if they're going to get drawn into a relegation battle, is with West Ham, Burnley, and
at the moment.
And at the moment. Sure. But by the same token, if the only bid in town, I don't suppose Palace are running around knocking on Nottingham Forest's door. I don't suppose they phoned up their rivals and said, by the way, would you like us to sell as your player? They made a bid. And what Palace probably would ideally like to do is use that as a stalking horse to be able to jack some other fool up that wants to pay more money for him.
You don't like talking about the Palace ownership, and I understand.
No, I'm fine talking about it. I just don't like to be impartial, to be not objective about it.
Yeah, I mean, since they won the FA Cup, they've dropped the ball, haven't they?
What they've shown is what their priorities
are. It's been one disaster after another.
Well, okay, well, let's walk through it then.
Europa League, now it's Europa League.
I've said my point on that. But you have to praise and criticise in equal measure. Crystal Palace have been in the Premier League now for 12 years, 13 years. They've never done it in their 120-year history. Right? They've won an FA Cup. All of that's been brought about by an ownership model that had the same wherewithal to bring Glasner through the door and to sign Eberechi Eze. Now, yes, of course, there's a constant theme about Parish falling out with people, whether they fall out with Dougie Freedman, whether they fell out with John Textor, whether the fact that he is what I think he is. I've got no admiration for him as a bloke, but you have to also be objective about the fact that he has presided over a level of success. So Palace fans need to dial it back a bit. And now going on to the scenario of what they could do last year, yeah, of course they could do it, but Parish hasn't got the money. So it has to be Blitzer and Harris. Where are those guys with their dough?
Well, that's a big question, isn't it?
You tell me. Maybe they're too busy propping up Bromby or whatever other football clubs they've got. Maybe they should be asked the question about their ambition, because they can do it on PSR, or maybe the answer will be all our eggs are going in the new stadium configuration, and we need 300 million quid for that.
Well, I'm looking at some of the messages coming in, Simon. We might dwell upon a few of them. If you want to give us a call on this, give us a call. Quite a number of Palace fans are saying, Mateta, yeah, good luck and goodbye. And quite a number of Forest fans are saying, not for us, thanks. So I wonder how this is going to finish. 03717 22 33 44. 35 million at the moment. Forest fans, would you welcome Mateta through the door? Doesn't look that way. Palace fans, would you kiss him goodbye as he leaves? 03717 22 33 44. Or should there be a red line here? If the terms are right, should you sell to anyone, or do you put your foot down at some stage and say, no, not to them? They're too near neighbours in terms of what might end up as a relegation battle. In any case, for the latest special offers, pick up this month's Real Deals in branch review online at selcobw.com.
The Real Deal on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. Check out this month's Real Deals at selcobw.com.
The Australian Open update on talkSPORT with TNT Sports. Stream every set live on Discovery Plus or watch TNT Sports channels on EE, Sky and Virgin Media. Subscription required. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
So much live sport going on at this particular time in the month of January. The Australian Open tennis. Let's find out who's doing what. Here's Toby Gillis. Toby, good morning.
Good morning, Carlos. Alcaraz is flying in the quarterfinal against home favourite Alex de Minaur. The first set was absolutely outstanding. So much resilience from the Australian, who was twice a breakdown, fought back to get back on terms in both, but serving at 5-6 just could not resist the Alcaraz attack. 7-5, the Spaniard, the world number one, won that one. He's now a break up in the second, though, has just had break points to go for love. De Minaur saved it, so it is 3-1 to Alcaraz with that break in the second set. The winner will play the German third seed, Alexander Zverev, who won through earlier.
Toby, thank you very much indeed. What about the cricket? It's the third ODI, Sri Lanka, England. Here's Sam Ellard.
England winning the toss, batting first, and going along nicely after 28 overs. England 127 for 2. Both openers went early. Ben Ducky for 7, then it was Rayan Ahmed for 24. But the third wicket partnership so far is a good one. It's worth 87 runs between Joe Root, England's best ever batsman, and possibly, most likely, the future of English cricket, Jacob Bethel. Joe Root's just reached 50 from 54 balls. He's past 50 in all 3 matches in this series, and Jacob Bethel unbeaten on 41. Bethel was dropped early in his innings, a caught and bowled opportunity for Hasaranga, a tough chance. He came back at the bowler quickly, it was put down, and both Root and Bethel have survived close LBW shouts. But England are building a pretty nice platform here to go on and post a good first innings score. Root's got 51, Bethel's got 41. There's live commentary on talkSPORT 2 and the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. 28 overs gone. England 128 for 2.
Sam, thank you very much indeed. It's that time. Players moving from one club to another. Nottingham Forest have made a £35 million offer to sign Jean-Philippe Mateta from Crystal Palace. Are Palace fans having that? Are Forest fans having that? Are you of the mindset that you're happy to cash in on Mateta if you are a Palace fan, but is Forest not a red line for you? And if not, why not? Many of you calling in. Let's take Daniel's call. He's a Palace fan. Good morning, Daniel. Where do you stand in this Mateta story? Good morning, Daniel.
Good morning.
Yes, Daniel, you got me. You, but maybe you can't hear me. Rich is a big Crystal Palace fan. Rich, good morning. Mateta to Forest, are you having that?
Well, I'm currently in South East London, and for 35 million, I'll go to Copper's Cope, pick him up, and take him up there myself.
Really? Why has it got to this point?
He's just Simon nailed it on the head. He had a streaky run, but now he brings nothing. The last 5 games, you'd be lucky to give him 1 out of 10 for his performances. He has been absolutely shocking, and at the moment, it is very embarrassing to be a fan of No Ambition FC. I guarantee you now, Jim, after what we achieved last season, if Simon was still the owner, none of this would be going on.
No Ambition FC, is that how you see your club, Rich?
Absolutely. Blitzer and Harris, they're very wealthy. I noticed that when Chelsea were up sale, they were sniffing around there. So why are they not investing any money in Palace? It's absolutely embarrassing that what we achieved, you've got a chance to jump on that and qualify for Europe next season without having to win the Conference League.
Yeah.
As Simon said, it's all down to Parish that happened. But all Palace fans do is moan about Forest, and as Simon said, we would have done exactly the same.
So you're not bothered, Rich, that Mateta strengthens a rival if he goes there?
I don't think he does.
Okay, Rich, listen, thanks for the call.
With a banjo.
Rich, stay in the line, have a chat with Simon. What do you make of what Rich is saying?
I mean, listen, I will agree with lots of it. I also think it's important to get the balance right on what Parish is and what Parish isn't. He's presided over a period of success. You boys know this. You've watched the team for years and years and years. You watched it during my ownership. You watched it during Ron's ownership. We all wanted to get the team in the Premier League. He's put it there. The challenge is as you know, Rich, Parish hasn't got any money. The 2 boys there, Blitzer and Harris. And I'm talking to John Textor. He was always of the mindset that he wanted to be very aggressive. Whatever Textor is or whatever Textor isn't, he wanted to spend some dough. And I believe that the issue is that there's a resistance from Blitzer and Harris. You've got no reasons behind PSR. My only thought process is it must be something to do with the funding of the stadium. Now, I don't know. I mean, that can only be the reason why. I mean, ultimately, Eberechi was going to be sold in the same way that Ian Wright was sold, the same way that Andy Johnson, was sold in the end, because there's only a certain point that you can keep certain players, no matter who the owner is.
It seems like you've just got to suck it up, Rich.
It's very difficult to do. Now, I think everyone knew Gay was potentially going to go in this window. Yeah. Where's the replacement to be lined up? I think it was you last week, Simon, said about our friends on the South Coast. They probably already know who their next manager's going to be. And that's the model. But we knew Gay would go, but we've got no replacement lined up for him.
Okay, Rich, listen, thank you for the call and thanks for the point you made in it. We'll finish with John, who's a big Forest fan. John, here's the situation. If Mateta comes your way for 35 million, do you welcome him with open arms?
100%, Jim. I mean, there's a couple of things, right? First of all, as a businessman, and also looking at it from a business perspective, which Simon's already alluded to, obviously, is that this thing about selling to Forest and because of issues, etc. I'm sorry, but if a club offers, let's say, a 35 to 40 million, and we're the only guys in town, Palace are not going to turn it down because they've got shareholders to keep happy. They've got money to fund for the new stadium potentially, and so it comes down to a numbers game. Now, the fact that Palace allowed Gay to run his contract down and other people, that's on them, and that's perhaps why they've got to sell Mateta now. As for do we want him? 100%. I mean, looking at his record, okay, he's a little bit streaky now and again, but he's got a 1 in 3 goal scoring record wherever he's been. The guy scored 2 in 3 for France. Yeah. Since he's got in. Now, I get you, he can be streaky, but so can Chris Wood. Alan Shearer went 12 games without a goal before 96. 100%, get him in, and I think he's perfect up front for what we need.
John, listen,
we need
thank you very much. Yeah, I watched you on Sunday. I was thinking about Mateta. I was at Brentford on Sunday, John. If you get him, it could be very interesting to see where Forest go from this point onwards. Interesting to get such a bunch of different calls and different views. That's what it's all about, though.
Well, the Palace fans are going to be disillusioned, aren't they? They're going to be disappointed with the opportunity that they will see that's been missed. They will see the FA Cup. They will see the kick-on mentality because it's a natural thing to do, and they won't be tolerant of all of the reasons why. There's always context, and I hate to be the person that provides context for Steve Parish, but there is context. There's nothing you can do about Gehi. Should you have sold him to Newcastle 2 years ago for 60 million quid? By this argument, perhaps you should. Would you have won an FA Cup without that situation? What did you sacrifice in the circumstances with Gehi? What can you do with Glasner? Go after Glasner. I'll tell you what then, Glasner, I'll give you 100 million quid. I'll give you 100 million quid, which is more money than we've ever spent before at any time in the existence of this football club. In fact, probably combines the entire spend of our transfer budget over the last 10 years. And he probably still would have left. Yeah. So what is it that you do? Whatever you do is wrong. You've got to try and find a way to balance it.
Yeah, but Simon, how can Palace have gone from a club that had many of their fans crying with joy at Wembley a few months ago, and now Rich, the Palace fan, saying we are no ambition FC?
But they probably would have said that previously. And that's an accusation that's been made previously. And the fact they've won an FA Cup is a wonderful achievement. They brought in a manager, Oliver Glasner, gave him his opportunity. And the problem for Crystal Palace is where you sit on the food chain, despite the ambition of the fans, that more often are not realistic. Most of the Palace fans are realistic and want their football club to do well. They know that however you slice and dice it and how much you want to push back and say we're a club in our own right and we control our own destiny, when Arsenal come knocking on your door, off goes Eberechi. When Man City come knocking on your door, off goes Mark Gehi. When a bigger club comes along, whatever that bigger clubs look like, and say we fancy your manager, off goes the bleeding manager. And you might not like it, and you might think it's unfair, and you might want to blame somebody for it, but there's little you can do unless you decide that you're going to spend every single penny that you've got in maintaining the ambitions of those that will leave when it suits them, and then leave yourself in a circumstance where you put yourself and the football club at jeopardy, and the consequences of it will not be something you're forgiven for.
But Forest are a bigger club than Palace, are they?
Well, they've got a bigger mindset, haven't they? Because they
haven't Marinakis, yeah.
Yeah, they are then. So this is your answer. And how many times Palace won the European Cup? How many times Palace won the top division? How many times Palace won the League Cup? They've won an FA Cup, which is one they've got over Forest because Forest have never done that. So with that in mind, you've got an ownership model that has more ambition because it's prepared to go after it, and you've got another ownership model at Crystal Palace that's done wonderful things, getting Palace into a situation where they stay in the Premier League, win an FA Cup, attract good managers like Glasner, but they suffer the alternate.
But who's been in the Premier League for the last 2 decades longer?
Palace.
Yeah, who's won a trophy most recently?
Palace.
There you go. We're selling Mateta to Forest, are we?
No, the player wants to leave. What do you want to do? So, okay, you're not selling Mateta. Did the Crystal Palace go up to Mateta and say, you're being sold? No, he said, I want to go. And I imagine that's directly relational to the fact that he's prospered under Glasner. And now Glasner's leaving, he sees an opportunity for himself somewhere else. And probably also the salary that Palace are prepared to pay him, he can get more by going to Forest.
I can understand Gahey and Eze going to bigger clubs. But Mateta to Forest, with all due respect to Forest, at this time and their arrival in that same zone in the Premier League.
We haven't heard from the player.
No. Look forward to that, though, don't we?
We haven't heard from the player, and all we know is that the player... I mean, it's not difficult to see. If Nottingham Forest are showing more ambition, which their owner is, the player can be bought into that.
Okay. We'll watch with interest. Alex Crook will bring us right up to date very soon with the latest on the Mateta situation. That and a whole lot more. We're with you live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan van range. Scoring a winning hat-trick of performance, payload and price. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 4 minutes past 11, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. Bad news for Man United fans. It's reported the informed Patrick Dorgu will be out for 10 weeks. He's got a hamstring injury. We're waiting on more news there. Meanwhile, Aston Villa's Yuri Tielemans will be out for around 2 months with that ankle problem. Now, David Moyes admits he's frustrated with Everton's home form. The team were booed at Hill Dickinson before coming back to draw with Leeds. Simon Jordan says Everton are in a good place.
You're sitting 10th in the league. Now, I'm not one to suggest to Everton fans they should put up and shut up and get on with it and be grateful for what they've got. But there is an element of put up, shut up, be grateful for what you got. It wasn't so long ago that you had a lot less to be grateful for.
Everton are just a point off the European places. Meanwhile, despite that huge win over Liverpool, Lewis Cooks told us Bournemouth are not thinking about finishing in the top 7.
Obviously, we've been through a bit of a sticky patch and we've picked up some good results, and it's helped us, it's settled us down a little bit, and hopefully we can build on them. And yeah, top half would be great. I think if we can try and beat the points tally from last year, like I always say, that's a progression.
In the Championship, we're told how Kim Hellberg's making the difference at Middlesbrough, who've scored 13 in 4. Here's striker Tommy Conway.
Going forward, he's tried to tweak a few things in terms of getting more bodies into the box and arriving in the box in different areas. So I wouldn't say he's changed too much, but he's tweaked things in ways.
Borough just 3 points off leaders Coventry now, who lost at Norwich last night. Cov's trip to QPR is live on talkSPORT 2 this Saturday. And at the Australian Open tennis, Coco Gauff's been stunned by Alina Svitolina, who sets up a semi-final against world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka. There's more on all this at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
There's a new £250 annual cap on ground rents for leaseholders in England and Wales. And Storm Chandra is causing floods, school closures and travel disruption. More from the news team in half an hour.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Get a free vehicle safety check at all of our 600 centres nationwide to keep you safe on the road. QuickFit. Drive away happy every time.
Chandra's bringing heavy rain and strong winds across the country. In the southwest, turning brighter with blustery showers. Very windy right across the west and feeling cold.
Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday morning. Jim White and Simon Jordan. We are live on talkSPORT, and as always nowadays with this show, we're live on your TV as well. Samsung, Fire TV, Android, Google TV, even Prime Video. Wherever you want to watch us, we are there for you. We'll bring you right up to date with events in the world of transfers very shortly. Alex Crook will be joining us on that. We might get the latest, of course, on this man, Jean-Philippe Mateta. Is he going to go to Nottingham Forest for 35 million quid? And resilience and leadership, are they really two qualities that have gone missing in today's generation across sport and society? Yes. Former Royal Marine Commando, you're going to love this guy, Jason Fox, is going to be in studio with us live very shortly. In the meantime, Simon, I make no apology for dwelling on this. Some pretty ugly scenes on Sunday. The game between Portsmouth and Southampton in the Championship down on the south coast at Fratton Park. Two sets of supporters who don't have much time for each other, and that was very much in evidence on the day. So much so, the game was drawn 1-1, incidentally. So much so, though, a 16-year-old Portsmouth ball boy has been left unable to hear in one ear after a pyrotechnic missile thrown from the stands exploded near him during the match. The ball boy was at the side of the pitch at the time when the object landed feet away from him and then exploded. It didn't hit him directly, but the explosion caused temporary hearing loss and severe headaches for the lad from that point onwards. Now, Portsmouth in a bit of trouble. They're getting a bit hot under the collar. They're saying this morning the FA also warned the club as to its future conduct, meaning any further breaches leave the club at risk of further penalties, which may not be limited to just financial sanctions. But what about the young man himself? I had a word with him just before we came on air. 16-year-old Hayden Rogers. So what happened, Hayden?
I was obviously looking at the game. I think this was after the big brawl between the two sets of players. I look over to see my other ball boyfriend who, ironically, again, got hit by a Southampton fan with a crutch. I look over at him. I try to flag a steward to be like, he's really hurt. He got taken away, but then I look back over to my right and all I see was the explosive there. My first thought is it's a pyro, it's going to go off like red smoke or something, but it ended up being a flashbang.
And there and then, I take it you were in a complete state of shock?
Yeah, straight away, my whole body tensed up, like I was a bit shaky, but it does feel like it has been dramatised a bit because of what other news people are saying.
I believe you lost the hearing in one ear, did you?
It's temporary at the moment. It was a close call, but it's in the sense of like it wouldn't have fully deafened me because of how far away I was. My first instinct was it is very chaotic in the sense of like the other ball boy got injured and then that happened like 10 seconds after.
Did you think long and hard after the match, do I really want to be a ball boy?
I will always follow still being a ball boy because it's not going to stop me, because that game was a high profile game. So stuff like that would have happened, like not in the sense of like a grenade going off, but it would have got fiery. The fans would have been uptight and everything.
Hayden, this does sound, though, like a pyro missile thrown from the stands that exploded very near to you. What do you think of someone that does that kind of thing, that throws something like that at a match?
In my personal opinion, I do believe, like, them sort of devices should be banned.
They deserve all they get, these people, don't they, Hayden?
Yeah, that's my personal opinion, because it's an explosive at a football game. People come there to watch, not to leave injured.
I hope you make a full recovery. I hope that you can carry on as unaffected as you were before it. What's your plan? Are you going back to school? What do you do?
I've got a day off today because I've got appointments and I feel like quite unwell because I haven't slept. But yeah, I'm going back to school tomorrow and everything.
Good luck anyway, Hayden. I hope you're none the worse for it, but thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Good luck to you, Hayden, if you're listening this morning. That was Hayden Rogers, 16-year-old Simon speaking to me earlier, who was in the middle of all this. Number of flashpoints. A 15-year-old boy was injured, as we heard. A crutch was thrown from the stands. Can you believe that? In a separate incident, a member of staff, a steward, it's believed, suffered burns. A pyrotechnic device was thrown from the stands in the second half. Simon, this is Portsmouth against Southampton. We're not talking Boca Juniors River Plate.
Oh, no, but there's rivalry between the two.
There's rivalry between the two. Why do fans continue to not heed the warnings and messaging over pyros?
I can't answer that question because I don't have the mindsets of those fans that do ignore the requests of the football clubs not to bring pyrotechnics. And we've heard people that suggest that it's indeed part and parcel of what they consider to be entertainment. It's up there with the what they call tifos. And those sort of things that are all new circumstances inside a football stadium that illustrate the passion and commitment of the fans and the further of the environment. The flip side of it is a young boy got hurt standing in there being a ball boy, doing a job for the football club, and he got hurt, and it could have been far more significant. As he says, there's an element of it got a bit more dramatised, but notwithstanding that, he was put in a harm's way for no other reason than being a ball boy at a football club, and that can't be acceptable. And football clubs have to reach deeper into their consciousness to start consequencing people for their behaviour. If you mean something, then you've got to enforce it, and you've got to be seen to be enforcing it, and people have got to suffer the consequences of defying what is not their gift, not their right, not their prerogative, not their privilege. It's none of the above. They're allowed inside a football stadium, not just because they're the supporters of it, because they're allowed inside a football stadium by those that own it. And it is not them. They might own the feeling and emotion and affection and all the sentiment of a football club, but actually they are in a football stadium at the permission of the people who set the rules, which are in part the football club owners and of course the EFL. So it has to mean that football clubs have to be a bit more serious about it. Now, how you deal with that, how you can search people to prevent these little items coming into stadiums that let people off, or more importantly, what you do when you ascertain who's done it and how they've done it and what your reaction to that is. I mean, we see it, we hear people coming on here, and on very few occasions that we've actually heard people come on and justify it. We see it in other football. They use the example of what happens in Germany. That's fantastic. I don't really care what happens in Germany. I care what happens inside football stadiums in this country. And people will say it's people being mean-spirited, it's all part and parcel of it. This is the consequence. If you throw pyrotechnics left, right and centre, then you're going to create a situation where someone's going to get hurt. In this instance, this young boy's got himself in the way of it in terms of doing his little job for the football stadium, and turns around and gets a firework go off in his face. That can't be what anyone intends or wants, and I'd like to see the argument being supportive of, well, we want to create an environment. Yeah, we know you do. We know you want to create an environment. We know you want to enjoy yourselves. We know that you want to create these atmospheres that you think are prevalent with modern day football. The tragedy for what you think is it's irrelevant. It's what other people think, and people aren't taking flares away from acceptable. But people aren't taking flares away from them because they're miserable old killjoys. They're taking away flares and circumstances like this because there is a legitimate risk.
Right. Well, the club's continuing to review CCTV footage, and hopefully they will nail the individuals involved here. Simon, very briefly, what's a bigger deterrent? Individual punishment or club punishment?
Well, I don't know. I mean, there'll be case studies to determine which is the better outcome. I'd like to consequence the individuals. I hate consequencing en masse. I hate the idea that people can say something and if you say something about a football club, then everybody was guilty of that particular offence.
Yeah.
In this instance, I like the idea of pointing at someone and say, you're the one that did it. You're the person that suffers a consequence. And by the way, there goes your silly little face up on the Jumbotron to let everybody know, including your employers, what you do in your spare time.
Lovely. Let's hope Portsmouth can find who did it and why they did it and punish them accordingly. It's 11:15. Jim White, Simon Jordan, live in talkSPORT with Selco where the trade goes. Simon and I were standing to attention moments ago. You'll find out why in a second, because Jason Fox, former Royal Marine Commando Special Forces Sergeant, who has since become a very talented television presenter and adventurer. Many of you know him from the show SAS Who Dares Wins. He is in the studio with us, folks. You're going to enjoy that. We'll be with Jason in a second. In the meantime, let's head to Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, England, the third ODI. Here's Sam.
England have lost their third wicket, but still in a really strong position. 34 overs gone, 181 for 3. Jacob Bethel looked really good as he got to 65. He was patient when he came to the crease. He got himself in, then started playing his shots. He goes for 65 though, a shorter ball from the spinner Van der Sey. Bethel rocked onto the back foot and picked out the fielder on the leg side boundary. Joe Root's past 50 for the third time this series. He's not out on 75. The captain Harry Brook unbeaten on 5. England in a strong position to post a big score. Live commentary on talkSPORT 2 and the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. England from 34 overs, 181 for 3.
Sam, thank you very much indeed. I mentioned earlier, you'll know this fella from SAS Who Dares Wins. Jason Fox, of course, the series itself, absolutely terrific. Conor Benn and Troy Deeney were even in it, and the two of them had a bit of a rumpus. No doubt you saw and read about that. But here's the thing, resilience and leadership. Are they really two qualities that have gone missing in today's generation across sport and society? Can you teach, hone in and develop them? That basically is the question. Jason is heading on a brand new live tour across the UK. Comes off very shortly with his latest show, Jason Fox, Embrace the Chaos. I love that title alone. And Jason joins us live in studio. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me in. It's a real honour.
Oh, it's great. Well, you're sitting beside the man Jordan, and you're live in talkSPORT with myself and Simon. 20 dates on this tour that you're embarking upon, and it starts on March the 10th. Yeah. There's so much I want to touch upon here with you, Jason, in the limited time we've got. 20 years of military service. You were medically discharged in April 2012, having been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah.
What are you doing now? As a result of a tour like this, are you giving back? Are you talking about resilience? You're talking about qualities that people need in today's society that are maybe lacking in today's society?
I think so. What this it's my second tour, as in second content-wise. I've done one before called Life at the Limit, which was essentially my life chronologically articulated. But the backbone of it was my journey with mental health, essentially coming out of one career and trying to find myself. Whereas this new one, Embrace the Chaos, is actually more about it's sort of like focusing on the lessons I learned and what I found useful, but also basically using stories to show that.
Examples.
And explain it, exactly, yeah.
I've got you. I mean, from Royal Marine Commando and Special Forces Sergeant to TV presenter and live stage shows, I mean, you've managed to reinvent yourself, haven't you?
Yeah, somehow.
I mean, how have you done it? Did you ever doubt that you couldn't do that after being medically discharged from the forces?
I found, so the reason people think that I was medically discharged because of my service, which no doubt it was a catalyst, and it can be attributed to why I suffered, but a lot of it was to do with normal everyday life, to be honest, and my inability to manage it and to communicate what was going on with the people around me. And because there wasn't a solid foundation to come back to from those hectic moments, that's probably what tripped me up. And so a lot of it is about me, explaining that.
And there was a lot to explain.
That's always
I can imagine. Simon, you're big in resilience. You and I have spoken about this a lot. And leadership. Something like this, I think you would sit thoroughly entertained in a stage show like the one Jason's embarking upon, because you want to hear his experiences.
Well, I'm big on overcoming adversity, and they are sort of bedfellows of resilience. Resilience is a much overused expression. Pull yourself together, get over things. Put your chest out and you put your chest out and your shoulders back. It's a way of approaching life. I think if you approach life in a positive fashion, you're more likely to get positive outcomes. That's easier said than done. But my big thing is about overcoming adversity and the challenges of life, whatever those challenges may be. My big thing in life with people, whether it's people that work for me or footballers that played for me or managers that managed for me, was about people being the best version of themselves. Because people talk about winners in life, and winners are defined by people that cross the line first. I don't think they are. I think they're defined by people that give their best all the time. And if you give your best all your time, then that's my version of a winner, and that's my version of somebody that can overcome adversity, because we're going to all get challenges. Whatever they are, whether it's the challenges that Jason had, whether it's me in my past with having anxiety and panic attacks, or whatever else I've had in my past that creates mental health and mental challenges, it is about what you do in the end. You can get guidance, you can get support. You know, if you go for self-help, then in the end of the day, it's yourself that helps yourself. So I think that getting lessons from other people that have been in similar positions is a good messaging.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, resilience is a much overused expression. It's very one-dimensional just to say, you know, you've got to be more resilient.
Yeah.
It's about building up layers of confidence and belief. And again, as I say, overcoming the adversity, whatever it is, the breakup of a relationship, the loss of a job, the loss of some money, the loss of your reputation, a mental health crisis, whatever it is, it's about overcoming that through whichever methodology you can deploy.
Can you identify with that, Jason? Is Simon on the money here?
Yeah, 100%. I think, you know, with regards, like, resilience is, I don't particularly like the word, because it's like, what is it? And people always say, oh, you've got to get, you need to find resilience. And it's like, I think we've all got resilience. We've all had experiences, and we've all, you know, if we're still here, we've learned to overcome them. Resilient, it's like, how easy do you make your pools of resilience to tap into? That's what I find interesting. You know, how prepared for life are you? The reason we've called the show Embrace the Chaos is because life essentially is chaotic. No one's really in control. And it's about, how do you deal with those moments that are not necessarily out of your control, but how do you deal with moments that you weren't ready for? You know, how do you approach them or deal with them with a positive mindset?
Out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we've had many sportsmen in this sphere. I mean, on your show, SAS Who Dares Wins, it's been so successful. Why do you think it's been so successful?
Because of the people that come on it. I think it is genuinely hard. It is an authentic experience, and I am there to make sure that the people that come on it are vested in it. You know, that they believe that it is a real thing. But the reason it's done well is because you get to see people with all the layers stripped back. It's difficult to keep the facade going when you are that exhausted, tired, hungry, not knowing what's next. And I think that's what people find interesting.
Is there a kind of crossover? We've seen people from the field of sport. I mentioned Conor Ben, Troy Deeney. They're put in situations they wouldn't normally be put in, Jason. It's how they cope with it, right?
Yeah, very much so.
With you guys breathing right down their necks.
We apply the pressure, yeah. We have a great time.
But they bristled, didn't they? They went at each other.
They did. The funny thing with Troy and Conor was they became really close on the show, and we didn't. They always know that there's going to be a moment where people are going to have to fight each other. We call it milling. It's something that the parachute regiment do it in their basic training, where they stand toe to toe, no boxing, just full on punching each other in the face. So they know it was coming, and they were kind of trash talking each other in the accommodation in where they were sleeping, because they were like, well, they're obviously going to put us together because, you know, Troy's a lump, you know, Conor can handle himself. So they sort of did their own PR around the fight, and we were like, they're trash talking each other, they're building up their own fight. We're like, well, we're going to have to, you know, because we hadn't decided who was fighting. We'd do it there and then in the moment when we have that task.
Yeah.
And then I was leading that task on the thing, and I was like, right, okay, you go at it. By the way, there's no boxing. I said to Conor, there's no ducking and weaving, bobbing and weaving, whatever you want to call it. I says it's just full on. But, yeah.
Listen, in the passing, and I'm hoping we can go the other side of the break, can we? Jason's got a couple of minutes. You can give us the other side of the break. You're an Arsenal fan. You're also a big England rugby fan. A couple of things I want to bring up the other side of 11:30. Jason Fox is with Simon himself live on talkSPORT.
David Moyes admits it's better at Everton's away games right now.
We need to get back to winning ways here, but we started here very well. We're just finding it a little bit more difficult, but it's also been partly in the month or so we've had so many injuries and boys out at different times has not made it easy for us.
Boos rang out at Hill Dickinson 1-0 down to Leeds at half-time before a Tieno Barry goal rescued a point. Everton's record at the new stadium is 1-4, drawn 4, lost 4. They're up to 10th. Meanwhile, Daniel Farke's aiming to better Bielsa and make Leeds a bona fide Premier League team.
Marcelo, one good year, but then also 2 years of suffering. And at the moment, we are not allowed to label us as an established Premier League side. Just 3 seasons in the last 25 years. But we want to make sure that we establish us again.
Leeds are 6 points clear of the bottom 3. West Ham are in talks with Spurs over a loan move for their goalkeeper, Antonin Kinski. The Hammers are willing to include a buy option for the keeper. All the latest on that at talkSPORT.com. Frank Lampard's blaming defensive errors and poor finishing as Coventry's Championship lead is cut to 3 points. Norwich came back to win at Carrow Road last night.
Actually, it didn't really look like Coventry were going to get the equaliser in the end, which I think says everything about how comfortable Norwich felt.
talkSPORT's Dean Ashton there. He says that former Rangers boss Philippe Clement has turned Norwich around. They move 4 points clear of the bottom 3. Get more, talkSPORT.com.
Just gone at 11:30 this Tuesday morning. It's Jim White, it's Simon Jordan, and it's Jason Fox. And what a reaction this fella is getting. You all know Jason Fox, of course, from the series SAS Who Dares Wins. Hugely successful series. Jason's a former Royal Marine Commando Special Forces Sergeant who's since become a television presenter and adventurer. And as I said, the series is so successful. An elite team of ex-Special Forces recreates, if you like, the SAS's secret selection process, putting celebs, former sports stars, through the ultimate test. But now Jason is going on the road, a brand new live tour across the UK with his latest show, Jason Fox, Embrace the Chaos. I love that. Jason will then take in a further 20 dates before finishing in Chesterfield. It all starts on the 10th of March. But here's the thing, Jason, in your series, we're talking about sportsmen being in the series and how they cope by being put in certain situations. In your series, you had 2003 Rugby World Cup winner Ben Cohen, and he's broken down a few times. He actually was in this studio with us, and he spoke about why he would swap his World Cup win for a degree and a career, and the fact that he had to sell his World Cup winner's medal. This was Ben Cohen. You might swap your Rugby World Cup winner's medal for a degree, but we don't want you to because of what you gave them.
And I don't want him to either.
No, I sold it. I sold my World Cup medal to survive COVID. To survive. Like, the reality is that tell me what Phil, you know.
I know. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know.
I had to survive. I had nothing in COVID. You know, it's hard when you can't. It doesn't give you a living. Winning a World Cup medal is great, and it's a great legacy to leave for your kids and a story, and we can talk about it. But it's great that it gives other people, you know, that uplift, you know, that moment. The reality is that I've got no work, you know. Where is my work? Or I'll try and create, you know, and I try and do things. And it's not that I'm lazy, you know. I just don't want. So me now is about paying it forward. You know, how do I help my mates out?
Jason, I'm coming to you in a second, the man to your right was in studio, of course he was, with me that day. Explain to Jason and the listeners this morning your take on that.
I wasn't. Listen, I mean, it seemed to be hard-hearted, and I'm not privy to the entirety and length and breadth of Ben's journey. But nothing, whatever you've done in life, doesn't give you an entitlement in perpetuity. And I felt that there was a victim's mentality being deployed in that conversation. I know it seemed to be harsh by others, and I didn't have a great deal of empathy with it. Now, we all adversity looks like. But the fact of the matter is that you have to overcome it. And I didn't have a lot of empathy with that situation. And I was surprised at both of them. Now, they probably have something to say to me back on that situation, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But my takeaway from it was, okay, no, not for me.
Now, he's been on your series, Jason. Can you relate to when the lights go out for somebody and losing your purpose, your sense of purpose, as obviously happened to Ben?
I can definitely relate to a career finishing for one reason or another. Like mine, as far as I was concerned, I think mine finished the forces. I went through a phase where I was not disillusioned, but I was rudderless. I was trying to work out who I was, but I soon realised that I needed to sort of, me being a veteran and having served abroad in many different theatres, I didn't believe that entitled me to get a free pass and move on and do other things and people to, throw me a bone. I soon realised that I needed to graft again, work on my mental health, and also then work out on how I was then going to find a new career. What was I going to reinvent myself as? And I think it was more, for me, my approach was I need to dig in and look at what's next and understand myself that it's got to be graft.
I'm with you. I understand what you're saying. We talk a lot, Jason, about this generation. Do you believe there's a generational issue when it comes to resilience, leadership, growth?
Broad brush, potentially. I think the world of tech and, the way we are nowadays has had an impact on how resilient, I've already said I don't like that word, but I'm using it, how resilient people are. But that said, I do go back and I see young recruits, going back to my former career, I go back to see recruits, potentially mentor them every now and again. And the finished product, there's still some young people, young individuals out there who are tough, which I'm happy to say.
Embrace the chaos. Jason, you've been involved in some chaotic scenes. And I was reading about it. And on this tour, which starts, as I say, this brand new live tour across the UK that Jason's embarking on, you're going to share never told before stories from your life. Close brushes with enemy gunmen, terrorist bomb makers, cartel leaders, battling against freezing Arctic storms, surviving high-stakes rescue missions. Jason, I walk about less than a mile to the studio in the morning. I complain when it rains. I mean, my God, mate, you've been through it, haven't you?
I mean, it can be a dangerous mile, though, can't it?
What's the scariest scene you've ever been involved in?
Honestly, it was a few years ago. Me and a friend of mine, we kayaked the length of the Yukon River in Canada and Alaska, and that was for charity. And we had a very close encounter with a grizzly bear. And the reason I say that's more frightening than, say, terrorist cells in far-flung places around the world is because humans, you can sometimes reason with them. An animal as big as a grizzly bear, you're not. And so we had to think on our feet pretty lively to get out of that situation.
What happened?
We basically did what the rangers told us not to do, and we ran. And we got away. We got away. But I've never, ever felt like that. The fear coursing through my system was real.
Did you just simply have to outrun the bear?
Well, fortunately, our boats, our two canoes that we'd spent the best part of a month and a bit in were just by us, and we ran to them, got in them, and got into the channel of water where the bear was at a disadvantage. They can swim, but they're less of a threat.
Wow. I know you don't like the word resilient, but you're going to have to be pretty resilient from this point onwards until the end of the season because you're an Arsenal fan. You're a gunner. You're an Arsenal fan. Are they going to get across the line this time?
I think everything says that they've got a very, very good chance, but I can't predict the future. No one can. Who knows what's going to happen? There could be all sorts of things happen. But at the moment, they've got a good depth in squad, and they're doing they've been doing the right things. Maybe this weekend wasn't particularly the right. It wasn't the right thing.
Well, there might be question marks about their mental strength in this title running. You never know.
Oh, you never know. You never know.
And the England rugby scene, I mean, under Borthwick, they're going in the right direction, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the autumn series would dictate that they are in a good place, and hopefully they've been able to keep that going. We'll see when the first game plays out.
Yeah, don't worry about the Calcutta Cup. You know,
well, that's always a.
You know where it's going.
It's always a drama, isn't it?
Look at his face, Jason. Wonderful, thank you so much, and watch out for it. Jason's brand new live tour across the UK in 2026. His latest show, Jason Fox, Embrace the Chaos. I've got this image in my mind, you running away from that bear. It's 11:45. Now then, embrace the chaos. What's going on in the third ODI? Sri Lanka, England. Here's Sam.
40 overs gone, England at 227 for 3. And England, believe it or not, Jim, are putting together a proper 50-over inning, something we don't see too often, accelerating at the right times, and even when needed, they're soaking up pressure, rotating the strike. Where was this during the Ashes? Led once again by Joe Root. They lost 2 wickets early, Rayan Ahmed and Ben Duckett, and then Root and Bethel put on 126 for the 3rd wicket partnership. Jacob Bethel got the 65. He looked in really good touch as he got to a half-century, although I'll be disappointed with his dismissal. A shorter ball from the spinner Van der Sar rocked onto the back foot and picked out the fielder on the leg side boundary. Joe Root passed 50 in the first 2 matches, didn't get a ton. He's 9 runs away though here in Colombo from another one-day international 100, unbeaten on 91. Already the 4th wicket partnership between he and Harry Brook is 61 from 54. Brook unbeaten on 35, hitting 2 sixes, including a glorious lofted cover drive for 6 off the off-spinner Dananjaya de Silva. So Root's got 91, Brook's got 35. England will be targeting way over 300 here. Into the 41st over. Live commentary on talkSPORT 2 and the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. England 227 for 3.
Sam, thank you very much indeed. It's time for this.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. We're ready for the action. Are you? Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+. GambleAware.org.
We're joined by Matt Gibson from BetMGM. We're going to look at some of the top sporting events and the odds round and about them. Your beloved Leeds, they couldn't win the game at the Hills Dickinson last night, Matt, but they got a point. What do you think? What about the impact in the relegation battle?
Yeah, morning, fellas. No, I was at the Hill Dickinson last night. It really was a game of 2 halves. I thought Leeds were pretty awesome in the first half. DCL has a chance to win it and just hits the post. That could have changed the game. But Everton, fair play to them. They came out and murdered us, I think, second half. And I think, on balance, a draw was probably a fair result for both teams. Wider relegation battle, gents. It's been not a bad weekend for the teams who are down there, all kind of picking up points in their own way. Outside of Wolves, who came second to City. I'm just wondering, fellas, if you're a Spurs or a Palace fan, are you potentially worried because Leeds picked up a decent point and are going all right. Forest are not lost in 3. West Ham have won a couple in the league on the bounce. There is a bit of momentum. Those teams in behind Palace and Spurs, and the narrative around those clubs is that they're in a little bit of disarray. And if you wind the clock back to, I think, December 8th, Palace are 4th on 26 points and Spurs are 10th on 22 points. Palace have only added a couple of points and Spurs have only added 6 to their tally. So while it seems, the teams who are maybe in contention for that 3rd relegation spot, they're picking up a little bit of momentum and got a bit of resilience. Well, should Spurs and Palace fans be concerned, lads?
Do you feel they should be concerned, Sam? I mean, Spurs, I don't think you do you? Because Spurs and Palace 8 clear of West Ham at the moment.
No, I don't think they should be panicking. I think there should be an unease, specifically for Palace, because they've gone on this terrible decline of form, combined with all the other upheaval, managers departing or staying and doing us all a favour and staying to the end of their contracts, and players saying they want to leave and players leaving. So it doesn't help. But I think there's enough points in the locker. Again, it comes down to what is going to be the points total that keeps you up. We've had previous seasons where it's been 28 points or 30 points or 31 points. I think the median is probably somewhere around about 34 points.
Yeah. So
if you look at Palace and say, can you see them picking up 6 points out of the next, 15, 16 games? The answer is, yes, I can. So whilst I don't think it's an ideal situation, it's a situation that one would have not anticipated Palace being in, given the beginning of their season, and certainly Tottenham's expectations were to be in a different direction. So no, I don't think they should be panicking or overly concerned. They should be mindful of it. But the onus is on West Ham. They've got to win games, and so have other sides in that space. I mean, Leeds for me are sauntering away. I mean, if you look at their recent run of form, despite the fact they've gotten beaten a couple of the games, they have been good value in every single game. They're very difficult to play against. And look at the results they've been getting.
Yeah. Having said
I think the next 3 for Palace is key, isn't it, Simon? You've got, I think you go to Forest and then away at Brighton, which there's a bit of feeling there, and then at home to Burnley. If you look at Spurs' next 3, they've got Man City, Man United and Newcastle. So those next 3 games for both clubs, I feel, are pretty poignant.
Oh, they're tough, aren't
Depends
they?
what everyone else does. If everyone else loses their 3 games, it means nothing, does it?
And well, the next 3, the fourth of that sequence of games for Spurs is Arsenal. So Man City, Man United, Newcastle, and Arsenal. Good luck. Poor result for Coventry last night, though, wasn't it, Matt? Losing to Norwich.
Yeah, it was. I know we just talked about Coventry and Spurs and their prices in December. Cov were 33 to 100 to win the league 2 days shy of Christmas. They're now on the drift slightly at 3 to 5. The Championship is awesome for competitiveness, lads. And obviously been following it for a fair few years. If you're not winning 4 out of your last 6, you're sort of in a little bit of bother with regards to a promotion charge. Wrexham, Millwall, Hull, Ipswich, Borough all winning 4 out of the last 6. Cov only winning 2 out of the last 6, which has sort of moved the odds a little bit. I think, fellas, and Simon said it for God knows how long, I think Ipswich will get there. I think Ipswich will get there automatically. Coventry or Borough, will they join them? If you're Cov, you've got to trust your swing and think about, they played fantastic football, which got them to 33 to 100 to win the league, but they are wobbling a little bit. And it is Coventry versus Middlesbrough, 16th of February, which again you feel that game will be really poignant. But there's 8 points from 1st to 3rd, and then there's a further 8 points from 3rd to 11th. So the competitiveness in the Championship is superb.
Let's shift it to the Champions League. Who's going to make the top 8 tomorrow night, do you think, Matt?
Oh, I've been counting on fingers and abacus and all that, and trying to work out the ramifications of where this goes. Basically, the bookies have it. Arsenal and Bayern are already there. We think Liverpool, Real Madrid, Barcelona, PSG, Atletico, Man City take the remaining spots to the top 8. And if you look at who the teams are playing, Liverpool, all right, they've been a bit rocky recently, but they play Qarabag at home, which you think will get them there. Real Madrid get Benfica, a struggling Benfica at that. Barcelona welcome Copenhagen. Atletico were at home to Bodo Glimt. All right, they had a good result last week, but Atletico at home, you fancy them. Man City take on Galatasaray. I think the best game, lads, from a neutral point of view, probably the one I'll watch is Newcastle PSG. I think it really is a shootout with those two. And we had 16 points as the qualification line last year. I think there'll be a few sides that get 16 points and probably miss out on the top 8 through goal difference. But Newcastle for top 8 at 6 to 1. They'll obviously fancy it, but it's a stiff test in Paris, isn't it?
What do you think? Can they go there and win, Simon? Newcastle tomorrow night?
Yeah, they can. Will they? It's a different matter. I think it'll be a difficult one for them. I'm more inclined to think that Tottenham will get into that top 8. I think that they'll beat Eintracht Frankfurt. I thought they beat Borussia Dortmund last week, and I'm going to roll my dice twice and think that they're going to do a number on 2 German sides.
Okay.
Because I don't think Frankfurt are any big shakes. And so I'm going to go with Frankfurt, who ironically played Dortmund on the weekend, didn't they?
Okay. I'd love to see Newcastle do it. I mean, when you look at PSG recently, Matt, it hasn't all been great. They lost to Sporting Lisbon. They lost to Paris FC. They drew with Marseille. So there's a mixed bag in there.
And there's definitely some feeling, isn't there? I don't know if you remember there's a controversial penalty, wasn't there, on Livramento, I think, when Newcastle went to Paris previously. So listen, the Geordies will be bang up for it, and maybe they can get a bit of change out of PSG. But we've got PSG as 2 to 5 to qualify for the top 8. But like you, Jim, I'm hoping for an upset and see the English side do well.
Okay, Matt, thank you very much indeed. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
Let's head back down under. It's the Australian Open tennis. Let's get an update right now. Here's Toby Gillis.
Good afternoon. Carlos Alcaraz is through to his first ever Australian Open semi-final. This has probably ended up being a bit of a disappointing contest, in truth. Alex de Minaur put up a huge fight in the first set, battling from a breakdown twice before succumbing at the last, but his resilience fell away. Alcaraz dominated to Melbourne, has an unblemished record, having not dropped a set. He'll face Alex Zverev next. He beat American Lerner Tien in 4 sets earlier. In the women's, there was serene progress for the world number 1 in the early hours. Arina Sabalenka, a straight sets winner over teenage American Iva Jovic. And she'll face Ukraine's Elina Svitolina next, who provided by far the shock of the day, absolutely hammering third seed Coco Gauff for the loss of just 3 games to reach her first Australian Open semi-final too.
The Australian Open update on talkSPORT with TNT Sports. Stream every set live on Discovery Plus or watch TNT Sports channels on EE, Sky and Virgin Media. Subscription required. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
So we're heading up to 12 noon. Simon, before we do that, I want to mention this. The Six Nations gets back underway next week, the world of rugby, of course. But what's more important, being effective on the pitch or being effective online? In the build-up to their 33-19 win over New Zealand, this was back in November, 4 England players, Tommy Freeman, Finn Smith, Freddie Stewart and Henry Pollock, produced a video on TikTok. You can see it now if you're watching on YouTube. And it was a video of them dancing. It was viewed over 22 million times. Pollock was subsequently branded a TikTok dancer who plays a bit in the weekend by the South African back row forward Shalp Burger. But Borthwick saw it as a bit of a positive. So they're the boys going through their dancing moves on TikTok. It's interesting, Simon. Steve Borthwick says he will not discourage his players from TikTok dancing during the Six Nations tournament, claiming that rugby should celebrate when players engage with fans online. So do you want to see a bit more of that?
Not particularly. I don't know what you're engaging with. 4 guys, their barbershop quartet. I don't know what I'm supposed to react to that. It's got nothing to do with age generation. It's got nothing to do with the fact, what am I engaging with? No, I'm watching
to engage with younger fans.
To do what? What? So what? Do we all got to replicate that dance? So,
if
I saw a bunch of Morris dancers, shall I replicate that too? Listen, each to their own, everyone to themselves. If that engages fans and 22 million people want to download that, then fantastic. Nothing wrong with it, no harm in it, as long as it doesn't detract from their central performance, as long as they aren't the subject of ridicule when it comes on top, when they're playing in moments of severe intensity, and they can back up their virility of their dancing on the rugby field.
Well, maybe it shows one thing, that Jesse Lingard was ahead of his time after all, because we remember this, and he used to engage in the odd
TikTok. Has it worked out for Jesse Lingard?
He engaged in the odd TikTok dance that he is in a dressing room somewhere, and these things get millions of views.
Yeah, they do.
Apparently it helps that sportsman engage with his TikTok following.
Where did it engage Jesse Lingard? To the dull queue? I mean, what's he done with his career? He's gone from being in a Man United dressing room to being in the West Ham dressing room to being an absolute flop at Nottingham Forest and wasting of everybody's money to potentially the end of his career. So that wonderful little bit of dancing is fun. It's all good humour and there's nothing wrong with it. But at the time, we were talking about a culture at Man United that didn't seem to have any understanding of its responsibility and was more about what it looked like than what it could do. And that, to me, embodied that. There's nothing wrong with social media phenomenons. There's nothing wrong with all the things that we saw during COVID, that Joe Wicks, telling people how to do bleeding exercises that Blind Pew could tell them how to do, and all of a sudden it was a cultural phenomenon. But the fact of the matter is that it's each to their own.
Yeah.
But when you talk about the seriousness of professional sports people, does that determine that they are... Because at the end of it, the centre of it all, besides the relatability, is your excellence as a professional sports person.
So
you can bust a few moves on TikTok. That's about it, is it?
When you and I are in the US in the summer for the World Cup, you don't want to go through a dance move or two with me for our TikTok
your
following.
hip will crack.
My hip would crack, and that is for sure. Anyway, sorry about that. We don't appear to be having the TikTok dancing, but it worked for the rugby boys. 22 million views.
Bed's too bedtime.
12 noon.
talkSPORT Sports Update powered by the Nissan Van range. Commercial vehicles built around your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 3 minutes past 12, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good afternoon. It's reported the informed Patrick Dorgu will be out for 10 weeks. The Man United winger has a hamstring injury. Meanwhile, our chief football correspondent Alex Crook says those Cole Palmer rumours do seem to be getting louder.
I guess if Bruno Fernandes does go at the end of the season, which I would probably say is a 60-40 shout at this moment in time, then maybe there could be space for Cole Palmer. But it's going to take an astronomical offer, isn't it, to persuade Chelsea to cash in on his day, their best player.
Crookie says that move is still a long way off. One that could be on, though, is Douglas Luiz returning to Aston Villa from Forest. Yuri Tielemans' ankle injury only makes Luiz's return more likely. All the latest transfer news at talksport.com. Meanwhile, Pedro Porro and Mickey van der Ven have both missed Spurs training today. Romero and Paulinho were involved, despite injury scares for them. Meanwhile, as Middlesbrough push for automatic promotion, striker Tommy Conway's got his head down ahead of what he admits would be an unbelievable summer with Scotland.
At the end of the day, my form at my club's going to get me to the World Cup. So I've just got to focus on playing for Middlesbrough week in, week out, performing, scoring, assisting, doing my best. And if that gets me to the World Cup, then great.
Meeting with Brazil on the line. Our championship coverage returns on Friday night with Bristol City versus Derby on talkSPORT 2. And England are building a decent total in their ODI series decider in Sri Lanka. Sam Ellard's watching.
49 for 3 into the 44th. Joe Root is on 98, 2 away from another one-day international century. At the other end, Harry Brook has 46, his fourth wicket partnership worth 83 runs as Joe Root moves to 99. Earlier on, Root and Bethel, who made 65, shared 126 runs for the third wicket. England going along nicely. Root's got 99, England 250 for 3.
Thank you, Sam. There is Ball by Ball live commentary on talkSPORT 2 and our cricket YouTube channel.
talkSPORT News.
We're told millions of leaseholders will benefit from ground rents being capped at 250 quid a year, and Storm Chandra is causing travel disruption. More from the news team in half an hour.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Come rain or shine, we've got your electric car covered with 400 EV ready centres, so you can drive away happy every time.
That Storm Chandra is bringing heavy rain and strong winds across the country. In the southwest, turning brighter with blustery showers, very windy right across the west and feeling cold.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's 5 minutes past 12 noon. It's Jim White and it's Simon Jordan, and we are live on talkSPORT. There was a fallout between the boxer Daniel Dubois and his trainer Don Charles, and the two of them went in different directions, saying thanks for everything, but you're not for me and I'm not for you. Now, in a bit of a U-turn, Daniel Dubois is back with Don Charles as they look to carry on from where they left off. A defeat at the hands of Alexander Usyk, but before that, a thumping win for Daniel Dubois over Anthony Joshua. We're going to hear from Daniel Dubois in the final hour today. We heard from Simon, who gave us his view moments ago on the rugby players doing their TikTok dance, which claimed 30 or 22 million views, wasn't it? But you quite simply weren't having it. It's not for you, says you about TikTok
this
dancing.
Look at me culture gets on my tits.
Right, thank you. There's Alec in Worksop. Yesterday, Simon gave the big speech about how we should approach life positively and agreed with Emmanuel Petit about the media getting people down in the dumps. Today, he's taken a miserable, negative view to a few rugby players dancing, along with Jesse Lingard.
No, I haven't.
Less than 30 minutes after slagging a rugby player off for feeling sorry for himself for not having another avenue to go down after his career had finished.
Oh, shut up, Alex.
Alex in Worksop. So
where?
What would you...
In Worksop?
Yes.
I went there once. It was closed.
All right.
Look, I don't like this attitude towards this look at me culture. Social media has generated a generation of kids that think it's important to be looked at rather than to have substance about what you're doing. Each to their own. Got no problem with these rugby players doing a dance, but this look at me mentality. Look at me standing out in front of someone's nice car. Look at me having a look at the wonderful things in the world that I'm entitled to get rather than actually apply myself. Yep. Look at me being an influencer, knowing the square root of bugger all about anything, and people are following me. And that kind of thing is what I have my miserable attitude towards. As I said earlier on, this look at me culture gets on my nerves.
You're not having influencers.
It is. Look at me doing this. Look at me living my best life.
Yeah.
Look at me dancing.
Yes.
I mean, when did it become about look at me?
Right.
Rather than these are the things I'm doing in my life. This is the substance that I have.
Well, I can't tell you how much pleasure it will give me not looking at you. It's time for this.
Transfer window update on talkSPORT with Intuit QuickBooks. Tackle your self-assessment with Intuit QuickBooks. Search QuickBooks to find out more.
Rather not look at this.
You'd rather not look at... Well, we are going to look at this because we're getting through the month of January, and that means an abundance of transfers. Of course, when you were at the top of the house at Palace, you were extremely active in this area. Not. Alex Crook, good afternoon to you. Tell us the latest on Jean-Philippe Mateta. Is he Nottingham Forest bound?
Good afternoon. Well, I think Mateta has been the player that I've spoken about more than anybody else in the last week or so. We know that he wants out of Crystal Palace. He's verbally informed the hierarchy there that is his preferred option in this window. It's going to take an offer, we're told, of £40 million. I think Forest are willing to pay £35 million, so not too far apart in terms of the two clubs' valuation. But crucially also, I think Palace are going to have to get a replacement in the building. Maybe Jurgen Strand-Larsen at Wolves, someone that Matt Hobbs, now sporting director at Palace, brought to Molineux when he had the same title there. But I do wonder if there could be a Tottenham-sized twist in this pursuit for Mateta, because there's a lot of stories coming out of Italy that they're willing to terminate the loan of Randall Kolo Muani, allowing him to join Juventus for the rest of the season. Now, you've got to think Tottenham would need a replacement in order to do that. And Mateta was somebody who was on their list before. And we know the hierarchy at Spurs are willing to spend money in this window. They've already signed Conor Gallagher and Sousa, the young Brazilian left back. So I would keep an eye on Tottenham and Mateta between now and Monday night.
If it's Tottenham, then that is another potential relegation rival, isn't it?
They must see something in him. I mean, ultimately, Thomas Frank, it doesn't. Listen, he's done a decent job at Palace for the last 18 months. So who am I to criticise him?
No, he has, and thank you for that. Douglas Luiz, what do we know about Douglas Luiz then, Alex?
Yeah, Nottingham Forest are going to be the headline makers, I think, in the last week of the window, both in terms of incomings and outgoings. We know that Evangelos Marinakis is always pretty active in the final days of any window. Douglas Luiz, I saw him play for Forest in Braga in Europe last week, didn't pull up any trees, has struggled to hold down a place in the Premier League starting 11, mainly because of the form of the likes of Elliot Anderson and Sangare as well alongside him. Aston Villa, now they've suffered a bit of a blow in terms of their title hopes, and they're only 4 points behind Arsenal now after the events of the weekend. Yuri Tillemans looks like he's going to miss a few weeks due to injury, been such a key player for Unai Emery this season. And I was told last night, watch Aston Villa, keep an eye on them, ramping up their interest now on a potential loan move for Douglas Luiz. Now, it's a little bit complicated. He's going to have to cancel his loan from Juventus to Forest and then start a new one with Villa. If there was any permanent option in the deal, this could look like good business for Villa because they sold him for £43 million to Juventus. They're not going to have to pay anywhere near that to bring him back.
Wow. It's incredible how in a matter of months it can change so dramatically. West Ham United this lunchtime. Am I right? Adama Traore.
Yeah, this was on, then it was off, and now it's back on again. I'm reliably informed that Traore is currently, as we speak, at the West Ham training ground to complete that reunion with Nuno Espirito Santo, his former manager at Wolverhampton Wanderers. I've just had a message from my colleague Ben Jacobs to say the fee that West Ham are paying is just £2 million. I spoke to Marco Silva after Fulham's win against Brighton. He confirmed that Adama Traore, one way or another, will be leaving in this window. So it does look like he's going to end up at West Ham after all. And I think it was Danny Murphy questioning the wisdom of this signing, bearing in mind they've already got wingers in Jarrod Bowen and Crescencio Somerville who are playing so well. But what they are lacking, West Ham, is pace. And whether you think he's got the end product or not, you certainly can't question that particular attribute when it comes to Adama Traore.
I think Alex is right. I mean, if you're looking for somebody to run through a brick wall for you, he's your man.
He's a speedboat without a brain, though, isn't he? I mean, I watched him the other day for Fulham against Palace, and all the Fulham fans groaned when they brought him on. It's an interesting acquisition. I mean, it's £2 million. He knows him from a previous incarnation at Wolves. I suspect he's got a degree of faith in him, but he hasn't. I mean, for the pace of this player, and he is lightning quick.
Yeah,
there isn't a lot of end product, and now he's probably going to score 10 goals the rest of the season.
That's right. Adama, do your stuff. Patrick Dorgu, we now know, is on the sidelines at Manchester United. For how long, Alex?
Well, the reports are suggesting it could be as much as 10 weeks on the sidelines, which basically rules him out for most of the rest of the season. My sources at United is saying that isn't confirmed yet. They're still waiting for a detailed assessment. But either way, he's going to miss a significant period now of the rest of the season. Manchester United have put themselves in a really strong position to challenge for a Champions League place. So does it alter what they do in the final days of the window? Because I know there's a lot of United supporters who feel that Michael Carrick, with the first couple of games, the wins he's got already, deserves backing in this transfer market, because it would be a wasted opportunity if they don't now go on and finish in the top 4 or 5 because of injuries. But I've got to say, the latest information I have is that even if Dorgu is going to miss 10 weeks, it isn't really going to change what they do in this window. If one of their long-term targets suddenly become available, they would do it. But I think far more likely United to spend money in the summer. What it probably does afford Michael Carrick the opportunity is to put Matheus Cunha straight into the team for the game against Fulham at the weekend, having scored that brilliant late winner against Arsenal on Sunday.
Alex, thank you very much indeed. Alex Crook, of course, will be live on more than a few occasions on Monday throughout the day on Transfer Deadline Day. It was thanks to Intuit QuickBooks. Search QuickBooks and you can find out more.
Transfer window update on talkSPORT with Intuit QuickBooks. Tackle your self-assessment with Intuit QuickBooks. Search QuickBooks to find out more.
Many people getting in touch this lunchtime saying, I agree with Simon. I'm not a fan of influencers of any sort as well. They really get your goat, don't they? A lot of them.
Just this world that we live in of confected expertise that knows nothing about nothing and badges itself up as having some degree of understanding. I'm not suggesting that we are the zeitgeist on these things, but these kids that look at me mentality is the thing I get exasperated about.
Yeah, but when you were the young owner of Crystal Palace, did you not indulge in the look at me culture?
Not at all. I've got my 18-year-old nitwit of a daughter turns up to me the other day and says, can I meet KSI? No, you bloody well can't.
Thank you for that. Jim White and Simon Jordan live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. I tell you where we're going. England are out in Colombo, Sri Lanka, for the series against Sri Lanka. Joe Root is making the headlines in this, his third ODI, reaching his century off 100 balls. So let's cross there now. Why not? Ball by ball commentary on talkSPORT 2. Let's dip into it. Commentary team, former England fast bowler Steve Harmison and Sri Lankan broadcaster Roshan Abhisingh.
325, 335. The total they're going to be looking at as talkSPORT listeners join us. It has been a real masterclass innings from Joe Root. 110 off 106 balls for Joe Root. Harry Brook, England captain, 83 off 50 balls. England 299 for 3 with 18 legitimate deliveries left. Going at a run rate of 6.3 overs. Remember, Harry Brook said it was one of the worst pitches he's ever played on Saturday. Fortunately, they're not playing on that one, they're playing on the next one, which is the pitch from the first game on Thursday night. There's been less spin in this game so far, and England with a partnership with Jacob Bethel, who got 65. Joe Root has been absolutely brilliant in this innings and got England to a total which looks as though it could be going 320 plus, and that for me I think will be too much for Sri Lanka to chase.
Yeah, I couldn't have agreed more with you. Well, talkSPORT listeners would love to hear where England is at the moment. 299 for 3, 18 deliveries left. As here comes Fernando to bowl to Brook, and he's driving and driving well, and the 300 is up, and they're running hard as well too, because these large boundaries and a couple and done with the greatest of ease. England go past 300, and that they do without breaking too much of sweat, so to speak. Harry Brook on 85, closing in on 100 of just 51 deliveries. What an amazing partnership this has been.
It has, and the energy levels Joe Root's had to show. 110 of 106. He's 9 4s, 1 6. A lot of 2s running, whether it's he's getting a 2 or his partner's getting a 2. Been a great energetic effort from Joe Root.
Well bowled at that time, a dot from Mateta Fernando, going slow and wider. And Harry Brook was improvising. He was looking to go over square leg, because there is a field that's short fine leg, there is a deep mid wicket and a long on, but nobody behind square leg on the leg side, because all of them, 6 of them on the offside. So that's the line Mateta Fernando is expected to bowl, and England have been the first 100 of 140 balls, the last 100 of just 68. So it tells you the tempo, as Fernando almost at the edge of that 30-yard circle walks a few paces and then breaks into his very customary run and bowls to Brook, who hits it over extra cover, and he gets a boundary. That's a wrong length to bowl to him. Well, he's expected to go wider and maybe fuller all right, but that was too close to him.
Yeah, it was too full, and it wasn't full enough to get it into Yorker length, and it wasn't short enough to sort of say to Harry Brook, you're going to have to check your shot here. If Harry Brook asked Fernando to bowl it in a specific place to hit the ball over the top of extra cover for 4, where his body shape was looking. I think he's put it exactly where Harry Brook wanted it. 4 more to the England captain. England 305 for 3.
Okay, live commentary on talkSPORT 2, the third ODI between Sri Lanka and England. Thanks to Steve Harmison and Abby Singh. Very shortly, we're going to be joined in studio. We're going to talk boxing with the chief exec of Boxer, Ben Shalom. Before we do that, Simon, other boxing news overnight. Heavyweight fighter Daniel Dubois, you'll recall that he split from his trainer, Don Charles. And of course, Don Charles was in his corner when Daniel had one of his biggest moments in his career, when he won so spectacularly over Anthony Joshua. So they split, but now they are back. They have made up their differences, and Don Charles is back as trainer of Daniel Dubois. Just before we came on air, I spoke with Daniel. I said, okay, how did this come about?
You know, Don's been great for me. We won a world title together, but I was just thinking about moving forward and how I can improve myself, and yeah, that was my decision. You know, I'm willing to give everything I've got left now at this stage of my career, and you know, become 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. That's my goal.
So that was Daniel Dubois. He said, right, okay, we split, but we're back. Were you surprised, Simon, that there was a change of mood by both fighter and trainer?
Well, yes and no. I mean, we had Don on the other day, myself and Spencer, and he was very diplomatically disappointed about the manner in which he was handled and treated. He felt he deserved a better opportunity to readdress the circumstances in which Daniel lost the fight. He felt that he was a significant part of the journey that Daniel had gone on, that got Daniel a lot of accolades, from fighting Baby Miller to beating Filip Hrgovic to dismantling Anthony Joshua, all under his watch, at the same time as developing him as a young man, more confident in the media, and we saw that ourselves. And he felt that that was a slightly unfair circumstance, that the moment some adversity came, he was shuffled out the door. Now, whether they bonded with Tony Sims, the trainer that was brought in, probably is more likely. They're looking at thinking this is not really going the direction of travel that we had anticipated. Don has kept his counsel, and here he is back in the mix again.
Well, absolutely. Let's hear a bit more from Daniel as to why the two have patched up their differences.
Just sit down, had a meeting and family meeting, and just thought, like, because I've had the most success with Don, you know, we decided to do that U-turn because, you know, we've had the best nights with him, and you know, I feel like he knows me. He knows me as a fighter and as a person. So it just makes sense to go back. And we've had a little break, and now I'm ready to get back to it.
Daniel, can I ask you, why did you split up in the first place?
I think it was just everyone needed to go away and think about things, really. It wasn't even a deep thought-out thing. We just, a quick, rash decision might have been. I don't know. But what I can say is that I'm glad we're back together. I'm glad I'm going to be working with him again. And, you know, he's the right guy, right heavyweight trainer for me. I've just scratched the surface. I've still got more bundles or more inside of me I'm going to drag out and climb to the top again, get my belt back. So, yeah, that's what we're on at the moment.
You've been with trainer Tony Sims in the meantime. He said he and you just didn't seem to gel. Was that about right?
Yeah, you could go with that, yeah. I feel like as the person I am, the character I am, Don is going to be right for me. You know, Don's the right guy, and I'm glad we've made that decision now. It's time to move forward with him. He will help me, I will help myself, and, you know, get back to the glory days. That's what I'm on. That's what I really want to do, get back to the glory days.
Let's hope so. And when will we see you in the ring again? When do you hope to fight again?
Hopefully soon, maybe in a couple months now. There's been talk about fighting, so maybe in April or something. So I'm just weighing at a bit now. You know, about to start cancelling, so all systems go ahead now.
And you have a name of an opponent, or is it too early?
Too early. I can't say at the moment, but we're working on it.
There's been talk, Daniel, of Fabio Wardley. Would you relish an opportunity to fight him?
Yeah, definitely. I'll do whatever it takes to get to him and get my belt back, man. They've been keeping it warm. I want to get my belt back, so wherever it takes, I'm going to get it back.
That was Daniel Dubois speaking to me just a short time ago. Simon, here's the thing. If he gets back to where he got himself to, and we all remember the night that he polished off Anthony Joshua so spectacularly at Wembley, then my God, there's no saying where he and Don Charles could end up.
Well, yeah, and there is that looming freight train coming down the track in the next 18 months called Moses Atoma, which might derail everybody.
Yes.
It's interesting to see. It'll interesting to see how Sam Jones and Don Charles get on. Don had a tilt at Sam about some of the things that Sam had said on a previous discussion with myself and Spencer on Talk Boxing, and Don had a little tee off at him, so it'll be a nice little marriage made in heaven there when they get together. But listen, they know one another. And whether Tony Sims didn't get on and fell foul of the father, or whether there just was no gel there whatsoever, Daniel said the same things when he parted company from Don Charles. You know, I'm going to get myself together. I'm going to regroup. I'm going to get the best version of myself. And he's now saying the same things with Don. Don, is a good trainer, and I think probably deserved a little bit better than what he got in the handling of a situation, both from the rewards that he gets out of training Daniel Dubois, and the cachet and the respect for the job that he's done. He's back in the corner, and now it's about rebuilding. He believes emphatically that he can rebuild Daniel Dubois. He was very bold about what Daniel Dubois would do to Fabio Wardley. He was very bold about what Daniel Dubois would do to a lot of people. He did stop short. And when I asked him the question about what he'd do to Moses Atoma, it gave him pause for thought. Yeah. Prior to that, he pretty much said that Daniel would walk through everyone in the heavyweight division, and then he paused for a second when it came to Moses Atoma. They work well together. Yeah. Why break it up?
Exactly.
It may needed they've reassessed, and here they are back together again.
It was announced that Adam Azim's light welterweight match with Gustavo Lemos, due to take place this weekend at the Copper Box Arena, has been postponed. Both fighters sustained hand injuries. Bit of a headache that for the man in the middle of it all. The chief executive boxer Ben Shalom will join us the other side of 12:30.
David Moyes admits it's better at Everton's away games right now.
We need to get back to winning ways here, but we started here very well.
we're just finding it a little bit more difficult. But it's also been partly in the month or so we've had so many injuries and boys out at different times has not made it easy for us.
Boos rang out at Hill Dickinson, 1-0 down to Leeds at half-time before a Tieno Barry goal rescued a point. Everton's record at the new stadium is 1-4, drawn 4, lost 4. They're up to 10th. Meanwhile, Daniel Farke's aiming to better Bielsa and make Leeds a bona fide Premier League team.
Marcelo, 1 good year, but then also 2 years of suffering, and at the moment we are not allowed to label us as an established Premier League side. Just 3 seasons in the last 25 years, but we want to make sure that we establish us again.
Leeds are 6 points clear of the bottom 3. West Ham are in talks with Spurs over a loan move for their goalkeeper Antonin Kinski. The Hammers are willing to include a buy option for the keeper. All the latest on that at talksport.com. Frank Lampard's blaming defensive errors and poor finishing as Coventry's Championship lead is cut to 3 points. Norwich came back to win at Carrow Road last night.
Actually, it didn't really look like Coventry were going to get the equaliser in the end, which I think says everything about how comfortable Norwich felt.
talkSPORT's Dean Ashton there. He says that former Rangers boss Philippe Clement has turned Norwich around. They move 4 points clear of the bottom 3. Get more, talksport.com.
Just gone 12:30 this Tuesday lunchtime. Good afternoon, one and all. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan, and we are live on talkSPORT. And as always, coming to you live on your TV screen as well. Everywhere you look, we are with you. Apple TV, Chromecast, even Prime Video, whatever you want to watch us, you can find us from 10 till 1. Weekdays live on talkSPORT. We spoke about Daniel Dubois moments ago getting back with his trainer Don Charles after a brief fallout. Daniel speaking to me exclusively earlier on this morning. But here's the thing. When you line up a fight and there's interest in it, and then the fight doesn't go ahead, it's a bit of a headache for the promoter. In this case, the chief exec of boxer, Ben Shalom. And Ben joins us live in studio. Ben, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
I will, and Happy New Year, even though we're almost at the end of January. I haven't seen you for a while. Adam Azim's light welterweight match with Gustavo Lemos. It was due to take place this weekend at the Copper Box Arena has been postponed. Both fighters sustained hand injuries. This doesn't happen every day, Ben, and it's a bit of a nightmare for you. What happened?
What a week. Absolutely crazy. Gustavo Lemos got a hand injury very, very late on, which was devastating news, really, for Adam Azim. He's fighting for the IBF number 2, 1 fight away from a world title. And then we managed to get an unbelievable replacement. Spent 3 days, the team did, everything going to plan. And in his final spar, he's also had a hand injury, had his MRI. We thought perhaps we could get through, and the doctors have said absolutely no way. So that fight is off. That fight's been rescheduled for April, but the show goes on. Gradus Krause and Fran Hennessy will both headline the show on BBC Two. So show goes on, and Adam Azim's fight is rescheduled.
Gee whiz. I mean, as a promoter, is there essentially nothing much you can do to protect yourself in a situation like that?
It's very difficult. Look, I think when that happens, you're left in a situation where, do you keep on the show? You've got fighters that have trained over Christmas. You've got fighters that have had 8 to 10 week camps, and this is their fight of their careers. And there's plenty of talent on the card. And I have to thank my partners. I have to thank BBC. I have to thank the new broadcaster that will be involved on Saturday night that will be announced this week. I have to thank my partners, Betfred, and particularly Riyadh Season, because they've all supported me. They've all said, you know what, this is a big show on the national broadcaster. We've got 2 potential crossover stars, Fran Hennessy at 21 years old and Gradus Krause at 24, who both want to go on and become undisputed in the respective weight division. So massive nights for them. Hassan Azim, Adam's brother, who sort of goes under the radar because of the noise Adam is making, returns. He was a youth Olympic medalist as well. So it's a big show. But as you said, you're left with a decision. You know, a lot of promoters perhaps pull the show, move the show. You have 8 or 9 fights, you know, all out of sync. And for us, you know, we wanted to put it on. We want to make sure the fighters get their opportunity. And it's a great show on BBC Two.
All right.
On Saturday night.
You're plugging it well, Mr. Shalom. Here's the thing, though, Simon. When Frank was on recently, Frank Warren, he was talking about the fact that Moses Atoma had sustained an injury, due to fight this month, and that Moses Atoma would not be fighting. And in fact, the show was going to be moved to another date and scrubbed the whole card. Ben stuck with the show.
Broadcaster, I suspect. I suspect there might be a different dynamic between Frank's circumstances and Ben's.
Is it, Ben?
Look, sometimes boxing's weird, isn't it? We run businesses, but it is a sport. And so sometimes, was this an easy business decision? No. Is it an expensive decision? Probably. But I think when you look after multiple fighters, and as I say, particularly over the Christmas period, 8-10 week camps, you speak to your broadcasters, and as you said, you've got to get the support from your partners. But in the end, there's enough stories, there's enough big fights on that card to continue. But yeah, is it difficult choice as a promoter? Absolutely. It's definitely not a business decision.
Yeah. Dalton Smith at the start of the month became the WBC Super Lightweight World Champion. He beat Subro Matias in New York. Dalton may, in the process, have superseded Ben's man, Adam Azim. What might happen when these two meet? Might they meet? Dalton Smith, as I say, joined us, and he spoke about Adam.
Boxing's one of those, it's you can win no matter what. You can achieve the best thing in the world. You know, become a world champion. Boxing doesn't allow you to enjoy it because it's always who's next. Or someone else gets talked about. But it's like, I don't want to put a downer on Adam Azim, but I've earned my stripes. And, you know, I deserve those big fights.
And the big fight might be you against the winner of Teofimo Lopez, Shakur Stevenson.
Exactly that. And I believe I've earned my position to go and get those fights. Go and get a big fight at Hillsborough. You know, I'm in that position now, so, you know, I don't want to put a downer on Adam Azim, but of course, go and win your world title.
Yeah.
I'm supporting you. I want you to go and do
And then
well.
we'll talk, yeah.
And then we'll talk.
And then we'll talk.
He was very respectful towards Adam Azim. As you might expect with Dalton Smith, he's a thoroughly decent young man. But has he now, in the pecking order, has he superseded Adam?
Look, Adam Azim's 23 years old. He's always had a few years on Adam, but I think Adam's knocking on the door of world titles. Dalton Smith, phenomenal win. I think a lot of people perhaps didn't expect it. And I know Dalton and his dad well, and I think for them, unbelievable. But Adam Azim, for me, is the generational talent in that division. He's the one that's going to go and unify. But I agree with Dalton. Go and win your own world title. Adam Azim is one fight away from that. I've always said this is a super fight. This is Calm Brook levels. This is two British guys right at the top of the division. For me, probably the best two in the entire division. And they've got to go and prove that. Adam Azim will have his day. He needs to win a world title, I believe, this year. And then you've got one of the biggest fights in modern British boxing. You know, we look at a lot of the fighters retiring. We look at Tyson Fury. We look at Anthony Joshua. We look at those guys coming to an end. And these two in this division, and for me, the best division in boxing, have a massive, massive opportunity. Could it happen this year? Perhaps. Would it be perfect that it happens for a unification, of course? And credit to Dalton Smith. But for me, Adam Azim is the one to watch.
You were rolling your eyes a bit when Ben was extolling the virtues of Adam Azim.
Well, no, he's a very good fighter, and we'll see if he gets his shot against someone like Richardson Hitchens and wins a belt, and then sits at a table with Dalton Smith and has a conversation on equal footing. When you've got fighters like Teofimo Lopez in the division, I think it's a stretch to start talking about generation.
No, Teofimo is not a natural 140, but as I say, for me, Adam Azim
doing a good impression of it.
Adam Azim beats Teofimo Lopez all day long. This is the best fight. I think him and Moses are the best two fighters we have in Britain coming through.
And Adam Azim would beat Teofimo Lopez all day long?
Without a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt.
Okay. How do you manoeuvre Adam to something like that?
Look, he's going to fight Gustavo Lemos for that number 2 position. Then he's one fight away, as Simon said. Richardson Hitchens. He's the fight that we want. He's the fight that we believe we'll get. Gustavo Lamos, in my opinion, and in many people's opinion, beat Richardson Hitchens. Possibly feels like he should be the world champion right now. That's his next fight. And look, he's moving in record time. This guy's 23 years old. He's way, way ahead. I mean, no disrespect to Dalton Smith, but where was he at 23 years old? There's not many fighters that are where Adam Azim is at 23. And he breaks records. He'll continue to break records. And yeah, timing is everything. And hopefully that fight happens towards the end of the year or early next.
You're now operating with BBC and free to air. Has it been a fairly bumpy start for Boxer post Sky? And the reason I ask, we know what happened with Jamie TKV, Fraser Clark, but were the figures,
look, the
viewing figures, anywhere near where you wanted them to be?
Our job is to put on 50-50 fights. We want to put on big fights, and that means it can go either way. Fraser Clark, Jamie TKV did 1 million viewers on the BBC, which is, no one can even compete with that. No one can even compete. Jamie TKV's just changed his whole life and whole trajectory. Callum Simpson, Troy Williamson did 3 times what they normally get in that slot on the BBC. You've got to look at it where, on a Saturday night, what else could be on the BBC? If boxing can beat the typical entertainment shows consistently, that's where boxing is at.
But Ben, you came on the scene as a disruptor, potentially. Is free-to-air really and honestly where you want to be?
Absolutely. And of course that's disruption. This is about putting boxing in mainstream homes, not hidden, not behind paywalls, and no disrespect. What DAZN do in particular have done a phenomenal job, but what we're doing, putting boxing back on the national broadcaster, I don't think any other promoter could do that. I don't think any promoter would do that.
Yeah. Have you got the names to do it? It seems to me when Hearn talks, when Warren talks, we're talking about top fighters.
Adam Azim,
with all due respect, Jamie.
Adam Azim is the number one prospect in Great Britain.
He's a potential.
He's no. He's headlining shows and he's doing
the word prospect.
Listen, when he's fighting at world level, he might be a prospect, but he's still a world level fighter. Gradus Kraus, who you'll see on Saturday night, is going to go through that light heavyweight division and absolutely take the floor with it. So Fran Hennessy is going to become undisputed. Lauren Price will fight in April.
Going to be.
Lauren Price is the best female fighter on the planet Earth.
But the bottom line is, on free to air, how do you get the big names to commit?
Well, we've done it with Adam Azim. We've done it with Lauren Price. Will our pay-per-view shows be on a different platform? They will. Will the shows that require millions of pounds be on different platforms? Yes. How do we create household names? How do we make stars? We don't make them by hiding them. We make them by putting them on the biggest platforms in this country.
So you honestly believe you can still compete with Matchroom and with Queensbury?
We still are, and of course, I think this year is going to be a huge year for us.
We're going to talk Chris Eubank Jr. the other side of this break with Ben Shalom. Stay with us.
Boxing update on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Sign up now at dazn.com/boxing.
Now then, this Saturday, Madison Square Garden, New York City, Teofimo Lopez and pound for pound Prince Shakur Stevenson collide in what is a high-stakes must-see showdown for the Ring and WBO Junior Welterweight World title. Saturday, Josh Kelly takes on undefeated Bakram Murtialiev for the IBF World Super Welterweight. That's in Newcastle. And Nick Ball against Brandon Figueroa kicks off a blockbuster February of boxing on February the 7th. Lee Wood versus Josh Warrington. Mario Barros versus Ryan Garcia, February the 21st, as well as the return of Clarissa Shields on February the 22nd. Watch all these fights and more only on DAZN. Let's go from the boxing very briefly to the cricket. Sri Lanka, England, third ODI. Here's Sam.
We've just seen an astonishing batting display from England, who have made 357 for 3 from 50 overs. 2 centuries from Yorkshire's finest Joe Root, his 20th ODI, 161st overall in international cricket. He finishes not out on 111. It was then over to Harry Brook, who produced something quite remarkable, smashing a 57-ball century. He ends not out 136 from 66 balls, his second 50 coming in 17 balls. There was a disappointing Ashes series, some poor behaviour off the pitch, but today Harry Brook reminded everybody across the world, why he is one of the best and most exciting batsmen on the planet. Root and Brook putting on 191 from 113 balls for that 4th wicket. So Brook 136 not out, Root 111 not out. England winning the toss, batting first, and from 50 overs 357 for 3.
Sam, thank you very much indeed. We were talking boxing before we went to Sam Ellard in Sri Lanka. We're going to finish talking boxing in the company of Chief Executive of Boxer Ben Shalom. Ben, I want to get to Chris Eubank Jr. in a second. You were in Dubai with him last week. Fraser Clark, I'm seeing a bunch of messages from people. What's the latest from Fraser?
Made some big changes. He's now training in Manchester near me with Joe Gallagher, and I think that's a big change. That's a needed change. And I think he's with someone that's very experienced, that's been there, done that. Obviously, Lawrence Okoli's in the camp as well, so good sparring. But yeah, he's doing well. He's still reeling about what happened against Jamie TKV. It was a terrible night for him. But he's with Joe now, and he'll be looking to make a return in April, May. Jamie TKV will be back on March the 7th at the Albert Hall in a massive show that will be announced next week. So both of them doing well. Fraser Clark probably back April, May.
Last time out, it wasn't a great showing for Chris Eubank Jr., beaten by Conor Benn, and he evens up the situation between the two of them. You've been in Dubai with Eubank Jr. Is he coming back?
He is. Look, he's managed to get what he needed to do done. So now he's recovering from that process. He's recovering from what he needed to get done after the first fight, really, and just didn't have the time. And he's in a good place. He will fight at 168, which is where he should be fighting at super middleweight. And he'll making a big return this year. But it's good to see him happy. It's good to see him recovered. It's good to see him healthy. It's good to see him being able to do the things that most of us take for granted, because that really was not what his year looked like last year. So he'll be back this year at super middleweight.
I don't want you to get into areas that might be difficult, but what did he needed to do that needed to be done?
He needed to have treatment and a procedure happen to fix the issues that he had. He'll talk on specifics when he feels ready, but it was, as I say, what he did last year to have those 2 fights in the condition he was in was phenomenal. Add to that fighting at 160, add to that a ridiculous rehydration clause, and he put himself through a lot. So it's good to see him getting the break, the rest, the recovery, and the treatment that he needs. And I'm looking forward to seeing a fully fit, a fully functional, and a Chris Eubank Jr. at the right weight.
Can you honestly confirm to us today, Ben, and be honest with me, that he was in the right nick to go in last time against Conor Benn? He was in the right condition to fight Ben again, because compared to the first fight, he was a shadow of himself.
Look, he wasn't 100% the first fight.
Should he have fought the second fight?
It's very easy to say in hindsight, no. But if he'd have lost the first fight, we'd have said the same about that first fight. He put on a monumental performance the first fight. And as you said, in the second fight, it was unfortunate. Things flare up at unexpected times, and it really did that week, and it really flared up for him, and he wasn't about to let anyone down and felt that he could do enough on the night. He couldn't. He threw about 30%, I think, of the punches that he threw the first fight. He was clearly not the Chris Eubank Jr. that we all have been used to watching for many, many years, and that opened a door for Conor Benn. But Chris Eubank Jr., as I say, 168, will return fit, healthy, and hopefully won't have to put himself through that again.
You're nonplussed on this particular subject, aren't you, Simon?
Well, there was no need for a second fight. The only reason he fought a second fight was because he's getting paid enormous amounts of money. There's no jeopardy in this fight besides money. And the rehydration clause is laughable because that was his choice. He didn't have to have the £1 million bonus. He could have waived it. He could have said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to rehydrate the way I want to, and I'll waive off £1 million. So this narrative that gets put out there is just nonsense. If people want to buy it, it's up to them. Chris Eubank coming fighting at 168. Let's see who he fights. Let's see if he fights a live one. I bet he won't be fighting Hamza Sheeraz anytime soon.
He wants the big fights.
He's always wanted the big fights. He wants the money. And nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. They're in the business of prize fighting. But let's not dress it up to what it isn't. If he fights for a world title, I'll be gobsmacked. And if he fights Hamza Sheeraz, I'll fall off this chair.
Is he going to fight Hamza Sheeraz, Ben?
He'll take the best fights available. He wants to win a world title. He wants to fight his natural weight. Hamza Sheeraz has got to get himself in that position and get his own title. But of course, as Simon said, let's not make... I'm not going to sit here and say that he won't take the biggest paycheck. He will take the biggest fights, the one that create the biggest noise, the one that create the biggest numbers, and the ones that filled out stadiums, title or not. That's what Chris Eubank Jr. is, and he won't shy away from that. Is he good enough to win a world title at super middleweight? I believe fully fit, absolutely. And of course, he wants to marry the two, and so hopefully we see him.
And it's your job to try and get him that world title.
Listen, he's the biggest name in the division still, other than Canelo. So he will be presented with the right opportunities because everyone wants that paycheck as well. So he's just got to get himself fit and healthy, and the opportunities will present themselves.
Do you agree with Ben that he still is the biggest name in the division
aside
of Canelo?
From a media
even off the back of a defeat from an
achievement point of view, absolutely not. From a marketing point of view, because he's box office and brilliant in press conferences, and because he carries the legacy of his father's name, of course. We've just seen it. We've just seen a pup of a fight being sold to the public for tens of millions of pounds.
The first fight was one of the best fights you'll ever see.
Yeah.
And has inspired many, many people to get into boxing. So I think he's done his job this year for British boxing.
So before you go today, Ben, come on, give us it straight. When's he going to fight again and where?
He will fight in the middle of this year. There's conversations. There's a lot of places that would like to see him fight. He'll fight in the middle of this year. We'll speak to Turki Al-Sheikh first because he supported us and supported his career.
So that means he'll be in Saudi?
No. We have to speak to Turki first just because of everything that he's done for his career, and he's given him the two biggest nights of his life. And so then we'll see. But he'll fight in the middle of this year, and it will be a big name.
Okay.
Enough for boxing, maybe.
In spite of what you think. Simon Jordan, thank you so much. Ben Shalom, good to see you again. Good luck with the
Saturday night,
the
BBC
Saturday night
Two.
fight night. BBC Two, okay. Not often I've ever promoted anything like that in my life, but there we go. Ben, fantastic. Ben Shalom with us live this lunchtime. That's about it. We're up at 1 o'clock. As always, Mr. Jordan and myself will be back with someone called Danny Murphy tomorrow at 10.